Now, it's All-Ireland final week. It is a very unique All-Ireland final. First time ever that two great rivals, Cork and Tipperary, will have contested for the Liam McCarthy. Despite their storied histories, they haven't just intertwined when it's come to the post-backdoor era, and they haven't met in a final yet. They met in a league final for the first time since the 1960s earlier this year, so there's a real kind of fresh feel about this All-Ireland final between Cork and Tip. Cork could potentially win a treble on Sunday afternoon, having already won the league, and the Munster final when they came out on penalties against Limerick. Of course, they beat Tip in the league final. No team has ever lost the league final and then gone on to beat the same opponent in an All-Ireland final to avenge that defeat. Tipperary will be hoping to do it this weekend. And also Tip, as their supporters will tell you, they're very much back, but they want to continue that record of winning an All-Ireland hurling title in every single decade. And they will have the chance to do it as they go back to their first final since 2019. So that's the tale of the tape ahead of the game. This is an eagerly anticipated final, despite the fact that Cork have had the better of the championship meetings, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But Paul Murphy, welcome along to our penultimate hurling pod of the season.
Thanks very much.
James Skehill, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm laughing because you just said welcome along, like thanks very much, as if this is a once-off.
I know.
Week,
every day for 7 months for the last 4 years. I'm probably talking outside the season on that one as well. It's still a case of, welcome. I got to greet you here at the Gap and bring you
on a deeper level than that now, to be honest, aren't we?
I think we are.
We're on a deeper level, yeah.
I think we are, in fairness. Before we get into this game itself and what's going to happen, and no doubt everyone is just going to remember the last 45 seconds of the pod where all three of us pick teams to win, and they're going to say, you were wrong, or the guys in the hurling pod called this final entirely wrong when we have the wrong team on Sunday. What is All-Ireland final week like, Skell, getting ready for a game like this?
I'd say it's different in every county, depending on your status at that time, where you're at as a team, as a county. I think from Tipperary's perspective, if I was thinking, it should be kind of similar to Galway back when we were in it, that we weren't in it every year. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Contesting, competitive, weren't in every year. They hadn't been in Croke Park obviously for 6 years, so there's a huge degree of excitement. And like from our perspective, it was exactly that, and you didn't even think about that position. It was just about what you were going through, and it was great. Like it's great for children, the colour, I suppose there's a bit of positivity around the place. Do you know what I mean? Which is hard to get throughout the course of the year, exactly. So it's just a great time. It's very hard for me to explain it. Do you know what I mean? As a player, because you're actually, it's weird to explain this, but you're a player and kind of a supporter at the same time. Does that make sense? In the sense that you're just hoping as a Galway person you're going to get through it for the rest of the Galway people as well. If that makes sense. So it's just it's kind of a strange one. And then like as the week goes on, I used to start off, let's say, very nervous early in the week. So like if we won the semi-final, let's say your final was in 2 or 3 weeks, the first 10 days wouldn't bat an eyelid. Let's say 7 days out, oh God, the butterflies are getting they're in the stomach a little bit. And those butterflies wouldn't subside until I was probably in the dressing room in Croke Park, until I was actually moving. Do you know what I mean? And I was moving and in terms of getting into your kind of your set routine or your regiment. It'd be right up to the pre-match meal, right up to the bus drive in, and then as soon as you get into Croke Park, you're kind of kicking into, I suppose, competition mode. But that 4 or 5 days, that was the only part I didn't like. I didn't like that, and I couldn't control it. I could not, no matter what kind of lessons you've learned or even advice you got from previous sports people or psychologists, couldn't control it. It was just your body was just going into its natural subconscious, knowing there was something big coming, and the butterflies were around the stomach. So, yeah, once we got into the dressing room, thank God they went away. It's human, like.
Yeah. Like, I don't know what it's like for you, Murph. I've had 6 people in the last 24 hours ask me, are there any leads to get tickets for this coming weekend? Now, maybe because of the Cork wave for the semi-final, maybe because Tipperary have had huge support throughout the year and their 20s had a big support too. You've got 2 teams who are massively trying to get tickets at the moment. But was that a pain as a player, where I presume a lot of family members, friends, people come out of the woodwork are all looking for you to try and get a ticket? Did you farm that off to someone else?
Did I farm it off? I don't think I did, no. I generally try and kept it to a minimum because it can get out of hand when you're a player in the middle of the camp as well. You have a bit more access to the county board than, let's say, even retired players or anything like that. And I suppose the county board then as well, like again, it depends on which county you're in. The county board, may take a different stance with different lads. They might have a hard line where they say, listen, this is the amount that's needed, depending on the county. But with us, they were always very good. You know, if lads were coming, they tried their very best to get tickets. But I always just felt, see, the thing is about it, regardless how good your plans are as a player, you want to have those tickets done and dusted by, you know, Wednesday night, really, because you don't want to be thinking about these things going into the weekend. And it's a consideration as well for people, you know, for as many more years as they're watching hurling. If they know a player or a player part of a panel and they're getting ready for an All-Ireland final, be very cautious about how much you're asking of them in terms of getting tickets or, you know, putting pressure on them. Because for the player, the running is one of the most enjoyable things to a final. You know, you're going into train in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, in Thurles, wherever it is, in Nolan Park, you know, Pearse Stadium, and you're getting to enjoy the build-up yourself. You're going around pucking a few balls, the weather's good, you know, everything about it is fantastic. But then this pressure of getting people tickets and not wanting to let people down. And, you know, then people often had scenarios where you get tickets for people and say, oh, I actually got sorted during the week. And then you're left with 2 tickets. And there's so many things. And like that for players, if you really truly want them to perform well, by all means, ask them for a ticket if you know them, but get it off them as quickly as possibly you can to let that player go off and enjoy themselves and focus on the game, because that's the priority and so on. So for me, I looked after them myself, just because I'd literally pick an evening. If I got them on a Tuesday, right, Wednesday evening, I'm driving around house to house or I'm meeting people, I'll give them the location, meet them, get rid of them, so they're not Friday afternoon trying to look after these things, you know, because it is a part that can be a distraction if you let it be a distraction. And that's a big part for players at the moment in this week, is that there's a lot of stuff that's secondary to the match at the weekend. It's even, you know, more than that. It's three times removed from the match that can become a distraction, can distract from your preparation if you don't stay on top of it. But I think kind of, you know, each player has their own experience in terms of how they dealt with it. But it's, like I said, it's a very important factor to be able to manage it in the run into a final.
Yeah, like I'd imagine, Skehill, you can't shield yourself from this entirely as much as you'd want to. Like naturally, the talk is going around, everyone you go bump into in work, you want to keep your routine as normal as possible. In the most well-wishing way possible, they will want to say, you know, best luck in the match, or they'll be talking about it or seeing how you're feeling ahead of the match. You just can't avoid it.
You can't avoid it, but what you do, as maybe it comes to experience too, is that you begin to be able to develop token answers that would be the same to everyone you meet, to be honest. And it might feel like you're doing nearly like an interview on television. You're giving them the most cliche answers to try and end the conversation as quick as you can and move on and go about your day. It's grand with personal friends, family, that's fine. It's just general chit chat. But if you're in a work environment and you're even going down the street, you're trying to nip that conversation in the bud as soon as you can and just move on, because it can get a bit excessive at times. And people, you see, they want to feel, I suppose, a connection. They want to feel some kind of part of it. So if they see a player or a member of management or whoever, they'll want to try and just, you know, get the inside track. Who's going with? How are we fixed, lads? Are we going to do it? All these kind of questions that you would hear tenfold. And it's the same questions. Are you going to do it? Well, if I knew that, like...
no point in having a match Sunday if I knew that.
Yeah, what's the point? Exactly, yeah. But you just, actually, we'll give it a go anyway. That kind of just... Answer, you say. And like that, then towards kind of, as Murph says, the latter stage of the week, when you're hitting, you know, 48 hours out, them conversations just stop with. You just, you nearly, I won't say you become a hermit, but you know what I'm saying, Murph? You kind of... keep yourself. Yeah. Keep your own crew, keep your own area. Like, don't be going out too far looking for that kind of engagement. You just kind of avoid it. And then you're rolling into business time. See, early in the week is fine. You know, it's grand because you have the mental space for it. As the week goes on, the mental space gets smaller and smaller. It just becomes a real kind of focus towards what you're trying to achieve. But I can understand people trying to do it. Like, I get it. Do you know what I mean? They've never had an involvement in a team before, so they want to get a bit of a cling onto it.
Yeah. I'm not sure if going to the bog is necessarily the best plan. I know Skehill has told that story before, Murph, about like that's the worst possible preparation for a big game. I assume you've never done anything stupid, Murph, in the lead up to an All-Ireland final, have you?
No, I've never done
sensible.
Isn't that comment stupid?
Well, I didn't have as many responsibilities as Skehill. Skehill, that's a responsibility, the bog. Like that doesn't go away. So I never had that to compete with. But
should I say now, the silliness was on the part of his uncle as opposed to himself. The only silly thing he did was get hooked into it.
Yeah, you know what? Well, good correction, good save there, my friend. Because it was. It still irks me that I fell for it.
No, I don't think I did anything silly before games. Like what I used to always find kind of amusing, if that's the word or the term I'm looking for, the Saturday evening before. I think we actually played 1 or 2 All-Irelands on a Saturday evening, the replays, let's say. But generally, if they're on a Sunday, the Saturday evening, just as it was getting dark, might go out for a walk. If I was living in town, go out for a walk, go down by the river, just a quick walk to stretch the legs, and help you sleep and all these things and come home. But I always used to find it amazing, like how calm and quiet it was. The Saturday evening before a game, you might, go for a walk down the road, whatever it was. And it's so calm and quiet. And I always used to remember going like this time tomorrow, or, it'll be all over this time tomorrow. Or the other thing, like 17 hours from now, I'll be in the middle of 82,000 people. And if I drop a ball, everyone reacts. Like how it can go from complete peace and quiet to the center with millions of people watching. Like I always remember talking to Martin Fogarty a few years ago, and he said he used to do something similar. He used to go fishing the Saturday night, let's say, before in All-Ireland. And he said one of the days he had that thought as well, where he's down fishing. He brought sandwiches with him and a flask of tea, and he was fishing by the river, and he caught 2 fish, and he was sitting beside the river, and he was just sitting there going, God, it's so quiet. It's crazy to think that tomorrow I'll be in the middle of an All-Ireland final. And he took a picture, if I remember correctly, he took a picture and sent it to Cody and was like, go on without me tomorrow. This is too peaceful here, or something like that. But he had the same thought, like, that I just find it quite remarkable, like for the players at Tip and Cork, on Saturday evening, they'll do their own prep. They'll be with their families. They'll be at home. They'll do whatever, go for a few pucks. And it'll be so eerily quiet. And then suddenly the following day, like they are the center of the world in terms of the GAA world. Like, 82,000 people will be watching, hardest ticket in town to get. There'll be people sitting in Australia and bars watching it in Boston, in Shanghai, wherever. And like for those, 30 lads that start and the lads on the bench, it's remarkable that you can go from that Sunday evening to suddenly into the middle of a cauldron on Sunday. I just always find that like a real privilege to be a part of, and really kind of a remarkable thing for if you want to throw amateur players out there to do.
Is there something kind of quintessentially Brian Cody Murph about the fact that he's not going to be there for the Jubilee celebration?
Absolutely, yeah. I don't know.
Like
Brian,
he has a few coming, right? Because naturally, Kilkenny win quite a bit. Spoilers about the 2000s here, but this is kind of marking the first one, and this is his chance to be there for his first. And Brian Cody obviously, knew he was going to be in holidays All Ireland final weekend. Even if Kilkenny had been there, maybe he would have changed his plans if they were in the final. But Brian's just going to be away on a beach somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know. Like he's a former primary school teacher. Maybe he's just used to booking his holidays this time of the year, and he forgot he can go any time of the year now. But yeah, I read about it in the paper there. Was it yesterday or today? Just that he wasn't going to be there for this one. So look, he has another 10 more he can go to, so he'll be all right, I'm sure. But it is funny that, like, for me, sure, that was the first generation of players like that I can remember. I was around for obviously 93 and all that, like, and 92 and these, but that's the first one of living memory where they actually got over the line. Like, they were going to be one record that could have been set that time was that they were going to lose 3 All-Irelands in a row, but they obviously won it in emphatic style against Offaly, and it was real, to be honest. It was the catalyst for that generation to go on. Like, Henry was corner forward, you had all these lads. Eddie Brennan came on as a sub. It was the start of something huge. So look, he didn't make the reunion in December there for the 2014 team. So hopefully he'll make the one this year, and maybe he'll be part of the Jubilee celebration. Oh no, wait, no, next year. No, they won't. Tipperary will have it next year. So he'll have a few more.
He's plenty coming. That was that was, by the way, that All-Ireland final was my debut as a really poor pundit. I was doorstepped by RT on the way to Croke Park that day. I can't remember exactly where it was, somewhere in Drumcondry, where like they filmed the fans going in.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I was asked who's going to win, and I was incredibly confident that Offaly were going to repeat the trick in 98 and win the All-Ireland final. And then we went inside and the goals started going in for Kilkenny, and my prediction was horribly.
And you've made fantastic predictions since. That was the only one blip on the radar. Exactly. Everything else has been perfect. So I mean,
Can you find someone for this interview?
It's probably around there somewhere. If someone has it definitely happened before the game, because we were stopped as a crew as we were going in. I think from memory we might have been across from. Do you know where there's like a car lot, which name I can't remember, that's across from where the Big Tree pub used to be in Drumcondra? So we were kind of coming down that road, and they had a camera set up. And of course, when you're young and you're walking by, every Egypt stops to talk to the camera. You wouldn't dream of doing it now. Like, you'd see the camera across the road. When you're a bunch of kids that have just got off a bus after a trip up from Offaly, you're going, I have been attracted to the camera to go and have a conversation with them. So
how old are you?
So what am I up? 13? Yeah. 13, yeah.
She's a good man.
Yeah.
Who knew we wouldn't be back to an All-Ireland final since, after the misery that was
Jesus,
that day.
you forget that. Yeah. That was amazing, yeah.
We're living in Croke Park for the decade before that. So
Yeah.
you never know, kids, how good you got it till it's gone. That's the main takeaway on this one. Look, there's so much to talk about with this game, Skehill. The psychology of both teams going into it, even before we get into the breakdown of where the game is going to be won and lost. It's a weird one for Cork, because Pat Ryan, Wayne Sherlock, you'll remember back before the start of the Munster Championship, were very put out that a prominent bookmaker had started paying out on them to win the All-Ireland after the league final. I can understand they don't want that seeping in, even if it's subconsciously into the group. So they've had to deal with that expectation. And they've had to deal with some really big performances throughout the year as well. And we've all, I won't say blown them up unfairly, but we've hyped them because of the high levels they can get to. They then win the semi-final. They put 7 goals past Dublin. All the expectation and the odds are on Cork to win their first All-Ireland title since 2005. Is that a weight for them going into the final, or does it really matter?
That's a good question, Will. That's probably the question of the week, let's say, for Cork people, because, there's Cork are confident people. As a whole, the county, they're confident people. So there probably is this kind of underlying message down there that this is one they're expecting to come home with. That they can't see a scenario where they're going to get beaten. So that kind of pressure, does that feed into the team? Potentially could. You know what I mean? And but I also think the management team are so astute, because every kind of message that I hear coming out of Cork to say, particularly through Pat Ryan, is that he's a fantastic leader, like man manager. So that's kind of one element you'd imagine he'd have managed, particularly when the victories were coming so emphatically, especially in their racking goals. So it's hard for the team not to feel confident, but there's a very fine line, as you know, between confidence and somewhat nearly arrogance into complacency. So that balance of knowing you're good, knowing you can be exceptional in your day, versus thinking you only have to show up. That's a fine balance. And people think it's a great distance between the two. It's actually not. It's not, because we've seen great teams get caught in the past, simply down to, I suppose, mental stuttering. So the biggest challenge for them is to ensure that they try and replicate the performance of the semi-final, and even to the Munster final to a degree, and keeping enough respect in the tank for Tipperary, but also recognising it can be done. Like, we can do this. So it's challenging itself, because when they win, they win well. They will very impressively. They win emphatically. They win scoring plenty of goals. So everything is clicking for them. Do you know what I mean? We've only really seen, I suppose, one blip throughout the course of the year, as we know, the Munster, the group game versus Limerick. And, you ask yourself, is the potential there for that to be repeated? Jesus, they're looking, I won't say invincible, that's the wrong word to it, but they're looking extremely impressive, and it's continuous. And we sat here numerous times over the last couple of years, and we've questioned Cork's, their steam.
Cojones. Yeah.
Well, but cojones, yeah. We've questioned their mindset. We've questioned their ability to take big moments when they go against them. Do you know what I mean? So this is the big one. If they get through this one, as I talked to the lad during the week, he said, "Geez, if this Cork group, get this one, there is potential for them to go on a run. Nearly like Limerick-esque, because the quality of player they have and coming through as a whole, is fucking excessive. Do you know what I mean? They've got loads at this stage. So I think there's a great recognition down in that team, in that room, amongst the 50 strong group, that we're very good. When we show up. When we show up and we want to show up, we can beat anyone. But it's contingent on the fact that we have to show up mentally be very strong for whatever's thrown at us, and trying to put tip to the sword in the right manner. Not that it's going to be handed to you, go get it. So I think that's probably the very simple message in Cork, and I'd say they're expecting to get it.
Yeah, I mean, look, Murph, there's always that nature of kind of Corkness about all this. And I remember back to the Galway game in the league on the telly, when Harnedy and Hoggy were talking on, I think it was RTE that night, and they explained that the reason that they're actually so mentally strong this season was because they genuinely have a panel that are pushing each other. That any kind of idea of complacency will go out the window with this Cork team, because they know that they have to be on their best game if they're to get a starting place. Presumably that's a huge driving force too.
It is, and it aids the team in not being distracted to a lot of the noise that's outside as well, because, players, like, the psychology behind the game at the moment is obviously absolutely enormous. But when you're looking at, let's say, a juggernaut across the way in Limerick, and then you're looking at Tipperary resurgence, and you're looking at whoever teams around you, and you're like, we have to compete with these as All-Ireland champions, Clare, etc. When they look at their own camp, for me, I just have to look at the Cork bench and see, Robbie O'Flynn has been an absolutely outstanding player who's been, plagued by injury over the last few years. Realistically, would be a man who's starting in that team if he didn't get a bad run of injuries and was allowed to keep his form. But then you're bringing, Shane Kingston has been absolutely outstanding, despite the fact he's been used mostly as a sub over the last few years. Jack O'Connor, again, has started quite a bit, let's say, particularly in 2022 onwards, he was starting quite a bit. maybe just struggled to get into the team over the last few years. But you can keep naming names like Conor Lehan and so on, and it just keeps getting stronger. Cahalane as well. There's so much strength there. So if I was part of that panel, first of all, if I was starting, I'm saying, fantastic achievement to start, because this is a hugely competitive team. But then, for me, when I was watching Dublin, the Dublin match, I was saying, whatever about Dublin now staying with these lads, when they start offloading the bench, that's when Dublin will struggle. Obviously they struggled well before that, but before the game started, I was saying, look, they were going to struggle here once Cork start to unload it, because they can't compete with them on that level. So there's so many elements there where I look at Cork and go, for them as a group of players, for them to look like, what else more proof do you need without winning an All-Ireland that you're good enough to win an All-Ireland? They've ticked all the boxes bar winning the All-Ireland for me, and I think for a lot of people as well. They've also had to manage that noise, and the fact that they had, last year to contend with, they've experienced all that noise that goes around All-Ireland final day. So I'm sure this year they're probably managing it even better. They're the ones who tell you that better than anyone. But maybe last year, not saying it contributed at all to the performance in the final, but I'm sure afterwards they were going, well, if I had my time back, I might do X, Y, and Z a little bit differently. You're always going to do that as a player, whether you win or lose the final. You'll do things, if I get to another All-Ireland final, I'll do it better. They have now just literally turned straight back around into an All-Ireland final. I'm sure there's lots of elements where they will go, we were a very small margin away from an All-Ireland final last year. If anything, we've got better in that time. And, we've learned a lot and we've matured a lot as a group. Them coming into All-Ireland final on Sunday, I completely get where the players are coming from when they say that they have full belief they can win an All-Ireland, because, like I said, what else do they need at this stage to know that they're capable of winning one?
What about Tipperary's approach then, Skehill? Because there's still some of the leaders and the core players from their run in the 2010s and going back to the final in 2019 when they last won it. Like John McGrath's having an Indian summer here. Noel McGrath has proven to be very important when he comes off the bench. A lot of these guys are still there. They're going to give that core experience to the younger players who are coming through. You've got younger players who've got minor and All-Ireland under-20 medals over the last few seasons, who know what it's like to go to an All-Ireland final and win. And maybe the perfect situation for Tip right now is that we're all talking about, Cork being so impressive and Cork being the heavy favourites going into it. Surely this takes some of the pressure off Tipperary.
You could say that too, but I have to touch on the point you made about the experience they have, and I took the type of clientele who's in the dressing room, like the Ronan Maher, Noel McGrath, as you said them, John McGrath, Jason Ford. Do you think, honestly...
I was just thinking, sorry, not to come across here, but I was thinking, say, Ford as well, who, the last day against Kilkenny, they need someone to step onto the freeze when McCarthy had missed a couple. Then he pops over the one from the near side on the Hogan stand, which is like a fabulous score. They're lifting moments when you're down a man as well. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut across here.
But you're right. The point being is, and I mean this with the great respect, do you think them lads give a shit who they're playing? Not a bit. They do not care less, because they're such grit built into them lads. Do you know what I'm saying? That's just from the hard road, and so I don't think they care who they're playing. I saw a great video. I'm not sure who the videographer was, but it was of Noel McGrath at full time in the semi-final.
It was Mark Ford who did the video. Yeah,
Mark Ford. Yeah, for me, it's a top class video, but it's such an outpouring of what felt like pressurized emotion. Do you know what I mean? That he was just so. The word often you hear in sport is relieved to get that next step, because there was probably an element of doubt cast over Tipperary for the last number of years, and now they've made it back to where he feels they belong, the Ireland final. So I think when you have these guys in the dressing room, it's absolutely invaluable to mix that experience with the youth of exuberance of McCarthy, Sam Farrell, Morgans, Giles, Shelley's, these lads who are obviously embarking on their first. And when you mix that, you get a great kind of balance. Do you know what I mean? In terms of how do you say, kind of. Young lads, how to put this now, sometimes they don't feel the pressure of the occasion, because they just don't know. You know what I mean? As they go on later in life, let's say into their mid-20s and later on, they'll feel it a bit more. But so they're in a great position, and it's just good for the experienced boys to be able to steer them, and be available if a question needs to be asked, etc. So I think there's a good balance in Tipperary, and they're just a different county. You know what I mean? It's built in them. It's a bit like I often say about Kilkenny and their work rate and their effort, etc. It's just built in them. Tipperary just have this kind of historic confidence that they're back where they belong. If you know what I mean. They just feel like they're back where they belong. So regardless of opposition, when they hop on that bus Sunday morning, they're fully believing they're going to win that game.
Yeah. It reminds me of Shane O'Donnell and his clash of clans on the way into the All-Ireland final. Just after Davy Fitz has told him, actually, kid, you're starting this final replay. And he just kind of goes, all right. Just takes out his phone, and he's the calmest guy in the bus on the way in. Well, I'm sure some of the older players were probably nervous as hell about going into that final. Water off a duck's back to Shane O'Donnell, and the rest is history, isn't it? Your thoughts on Tip coming into this, Murph? In a way, do you know what? I'm actually quite glad the situation last week didn't drag on, because it had the potential to do it. You know, there was talk about an investigation and they were waiting for James Owen's report. That obviously came true to the CCCC and just nothing else became of it. I presume he must have just said, scoreboard operators made a mistake. It was all put to bed by that Monday night or that Tuesday. Cal spoke himself and said, look, Kilkenny aren't the type of county who would ever try and drag this out. We're not the type of county that would do it either. We're moving on and now we can focus on the final. So, like, in a way, Tipperary, at least since about 24 hours out from that game, didn't have to worry about any of that noise. It didn't become a circus for the rest of the week.
Yeah, and I don't think it would have been any use to Tipperary anyway to prepare as if you were going to play one. Like, I mean, I think we knew the soundings very early on was that this is just going to be a case of, I don't know, wrapping the knuckles for whoever runs the scoreboard and just move on. Like, a lot of these incidents that suddenly become headlines, like, you know, in the moment when it happens that they're going to be a storm in a teacup and mightn't even come to that. And this wasn't even really a storm in a teacup. It was a talking point. It was, you know, obviously very unusual that something like this had happened. And I can't remember of it happening previously, certainly not at this stage. But I think, you know, really straight away, and even Derek Ling's comments, you knew straight away that he was just going, no, look, we're moving on. We were beaten and that was it. So, yeah, it definitely helped Tipperary. But, it helped that it was put to bed early on, that they knew there wasn't going to be any faffing about with this. But, like, really, you know, I saw Tipperary's, I suppose, attitude or how they were going to approach y'all in the final straight away after. Like, Brian O'Mara was interviewed straight away afterwards and he was saying, oh, sure, look, you know, Cork are going to be favourites now and sure, look, we'll give it a crack. And I was laughing. I was like, you still have sweat on you. You're the final whistle, you're still getting your breath and you're already saying this. And then we had Jason Ford up with us at the BBC, the same crack again. And I was like, again, completely respecting what he was saying and stuff. And you don't want to draw him out because, like, respectfully for a player, like, you're just going, absolutely, no more than what Skehill was saying at the start. You have party lines and so on you want to put out there, absolutely, and it's the most professional way to answer it. But at the same time, I was going, yeah, I'd probably do the same in the exact in the same situation. But I was so impressed at how quickly they were putting this out there because, like, it's better for them anyway coming in that just if people want to focus on Cork, like, so much of the narrative is. Will Cork finally get over the line? Will Patrick Horgan, you know, suits Tipperary to push that over towards Cork? Let them deal with that and we focus on ourselves. I would compare, you know, you're always looking at these things as to how can you compare it to your own experience. 2011, we probably came in quite similar. Tipperary were after blowing Waterford out of it in the semi-final or in the Munster final. And we're performing really well, and it was kind of seeing that we might put it up to them, but they'll generally probably do what they did in 2010, and like Corbett will hit the net a few times. Like, Tipperary, I think, are fully aware this is a 70-minute match. Like, form does go out the window. We'll draw a lot from the form of Cork and Tipperary over the last while to try and come up with our own predictions and where the game will, you know, be won or fall down, etc. But for Tipperary, they're going, this is a straight shootout for 70 minutes. We draw Tipperary into a battle that we want. We'll win the game, and it's as simple as that. And that's all you're concerned about for that group of players. That's all they're concerned about. So they'll be very happy coming into this final. And you know what? I'm not putting this down. Let's say Tipperary don't win this final. It's still a fantastic year for Tipperary. I think their fans will be delighted. Obviously, they'd be really disappointed if they didn't win it. But it's a fantastic year. They've unearthed a lot of really good players who have gotten this far. To get this far for a lot of those young players, Sam Farrell and these lads, it's absolutely brilliant. Like, they've unearthed, like, Robert Doyle, for example, has been absolutely outstanding. And, you know, going into next year, there's lots of positives here. And this is not writing Tipperary off by any means whatsoever. But I'm just saying that, like, there's so many positives here for Tipperary going into this final, even if they don't get over the line. But as far as they're concerned, as far as Tipperary people are concerned, and they've right to think it, this is 70 minutes of hurling. They have every possibility that they can go and win this match.
Yeah, for the audio listeners who didn't see me smirking on the video version, the text message which you just heard coming in was my cousin's fiance, who is a Cork supporter, and he is a Tipperary supporter. And the simple message was, any leads for tickets, we need to get some. So that shows early in the week where we're at.
I got one text during the week saying, any tickets for this from a Cork lad I used to work with now, good fella, but he texted me saying he listens to the pod and he was like, any tickets going around Kilkenny this week? And I hadn't even seen the message or read it, and by the time he penny dropped at him, and 10 minutes later he texted back saying, sorry, I forgot your wife was from Tip, never mind about that. Like, basically whatever you get is going to Tipperary. So I was laughing at that, but yeah, I'd say we're all probably getting texts.
Yeah, I think so. Fair few tweets during the week as well. Tweets generally in the last couple of days have been, when is the pod out? Why is the pod not out? Or do you have tickets? And then today Twitter became, everyone you're trying to dodge an Irish sports star who sent an intimate picture of himself to someone else. And everyone appears to have wanted to repost it for whatever reason. I must have seen it at least 52 times on this Monday at this stage.
What?
And,
Say that again. What was it?
oh, you can have a look for it later. You obviously have been on Twitter all day.
Murph, what did you do?
Sorry, re-say what you just said, Will.
So an Irish MMA star,
Right.
I know where this is going.
obviously that one, decided to use a kettlebell in an unorthodox way, and decided to send it to Azealia Banks, who had united the country in hatred of her when she complained about Ireland a few years back, when she had issues with a flight coming over here. And now she has put the picture that Conor McGregor sent to her. An unsolicited picture that he sent to her.
Cue the fact that me and Murph are going to go online right now, right?
Yeah, I realise now you have to share my pain, but just trying to scroll through Twitter earlier on, because I was looking at kind of questions and various bits and pieces that came through, every second tweet seemed to be that. Or related to that in some way. It's been a day. This has taken us a little bit off course, admittedly, for the All-Ireland
Well, I
final.
missed this now because so I'm gonna have to find this here now.
No, you guys have a look while I have a look at everything else. So,
I fucking really could have told us what it was. Jesus, I didn't need to see that.
So
Jesus.
I know you're not a Father's Head fan, but this is a little bit like, you know, when Dougal stands in front of the "do not push this button" sign, and you know that everything in your mind was gone. I need to search this and see what happened.
Yeah, well, I need that, but you could have given a bit more detail. Like, of a graphic name.
I tried to. Well, it is very graphic. I tried to skirt around it so we could kind of make a joke around it, but not actually. I didn't think you were actually going to search it in the middle of the pod. I thought there was going to be one moment where you go,
As we speak, like.
I better have a look at that later on.
Well, I didn't. So
There's either staying in the pod or there's going to be a really weird gap
Heavy
at one
edit.
point where we go,
Heavy edit.
wait a minute. I think it probably stays in. I think people can search if they want, but that has just been social media for the last 12, 13 hours since that went up. Right. So Cork have got a really good record against Tipperary in recent times in the Championship to get us back on course here, which is something to watch out for, really. So Cork, since 2020, have basically had Tipperary's number. There's a draw and Cork wins outside of that. Now, Tipperary's record in their Munster round robin has to be taken into account up until this year, and even this year, obviously, they shipped a defeat against Cork away from home. But Murph, 15 points has been the average winning margin for Cork since 2020 when it comes to this fixture. It seems to be very much in their favour. Does that really matter?
Does it matter? I don't think it matters for Tipperary in terms of the point I made earlier, that I don't think Tipperary will buy into that to think it's going to have an effect on this game. For maybe Cork's build-up again, like, you know, they may look at that and say, well, when we have been hurling really well, this is what we produce and this is what we're able to do. So they may look at it that way. But realistically, I think for both camps, they're looking at this in terms of, as a standalone game, how do they unhinge the other team? Stats like that have no impact on Sunday. It just doesn't buy into it unless you're extremely unconfident, and this diminishes your confidence when you see a certain team coming at you. I don't see that true for either of these teams here. I don't think either team fears each other. They definitely don't. So that's the only way I feel that stat could impact. This is a straight shootout. This is the case for this. And I mean that in particularly for Tipperary. Tipperary are the type of team, like when we spoke of Cork and Clare last year, Cork were the favourites going into that game, but we look at, particularly me and you, Will, we went for Clare, and really it was just gut feeling. I just went, Clare are good in these situations. They like coming in. I would say the same for Tipperary. Tipperary will enjoy coming into this situation going, yeah, everyone's writing us off. Fantastic. They write us off the whole time. They didn't think we get out of Munster, etc. Like, that'll be the way they'll come into it. And they will perform on Sunday. I fully believe that they will perform, and they'll be very aggressive, and they'll be up in Cork's faces. And so, through all that, do I see 15 points being the deciding margin affecting Tipperary? No, I don't see it at all. It happens to be an interesting statistic coming into the final, but it's not something that will rock the Tipperary psyche. You know, like Tipperary have had a lot of results over the last while that they can point at and go, particularly the semi-final, to say, lads, even when we go down a man, we're still capable of getting a result. So for so many reasons, Tipperary go into this game going, we've been written off several times this year and even over the last few years. Here we are in an All-Ireland final. There's no interest of that 15 point margin. It's just a case of, are we good enough to beat them? Yeah, they'll think they're good enough to beat them. Well, let's go out and do it then. And within that, then deploy their own tactics. But I don't think at all it plays into any factor in terms of the winning and losing of this match.
Skehill, the only reason I bring the pattern up is because 4 goals has been the pattern for Cork as well. So 4-27, they scored back in the round robin earlier this year. They scored 4 goals in the 2 previous championship meetings as well. So it's very clear, Tipperary have to find a way to stop this Cork goal machine if they're lifting the Liam McCarthy come 5 o'clock on Sunday.
Oh, jeez, it's paramount. Without that, it's a Tipperary getting beaten. Do you know what I mean? Like it's no secret where the danger is for Cork. The danger for Cork is in their full forward line. Like if you can stem them somehow, I use somehow in inverted commas here, somehow stem those guys, the 3 of them together, you go an awful long way to beating them. But that's a much easier task to say than it is to do. But you've got the clientele in the background. Like I can't wait to see Owen Connolly versus who I think is going to pick up Hayes. Like I cannot wait to see that because you've got 2 big, strong, powerful, pacey men who are kind of unrelenting in their effort. And that to me is one of the key matchups where you could say, right, this game could be decided. There's 2 or 3 key matchups where I think if you look at them, you'll say whoever comes out on top of that will have a deciding factor on which way the game goes. And like it's the 2 full forward lines that. Like if you see John McGrath, you were saying Indian Summer and Jason Ford, the 2 of them are electric at the moment. And they're major contributors to Tipperary's big scoring prowess. So it's like the Cork challenges, can we stem those 2 guys? The Tipperary challenges likewise the same the far side. Can we stem Connolly? Can we stem Hayes? And it's actually a fascinating task because like we are as neutrals, we love watching goals. We love watching the net get rattled and crowd erupt. And when you look at the way Cork have performed this year, they have to get them. It's like their ethos is go and get goals, go and bury teams early. So there's going to be an all-out attack in the first half. If you ask me for a prediction in terms of result, it'll be harder. It'll be like the number of goals is harder to predict than who's the result. Like, this game could have 6-7 goals again, like between both teams. That's just the way they both of them play. They both play a very open, expansive, high movement into their forwards that creates opportunity for goals. So I'd say it's going to be a class encounter. I can't wait for it myself.
Let's look at some of the matchups then, or some of the potential moves that could happen here. So one of the things I thought Tipperary did really well in the semi-final, Murph, we were all praising Hugh Lawler and how well he was playing. When he was in that 3 position, he's an absolute rock. And when he's able to kind of hold his position, very difficult ground to get past him. Tipperary almost went around as opposed to trying to go through him. So they kind of dragged the Kilkenny defence around is how they got the space to create the goals in the semi-final. I presume they try and do something similar here. And that probably means that from a Cork perspective, you're looking at probably putting O'Donoghue on to tag McCarthy, I would say. I assume John McGrath plays a bit more central, even though he could drift off to the side. So he goes on Owen Downey, you would imagine. And then on the other side, like, do they go Niall O'Leary maybe on Jason Ford and expect that Ford is going to stay in the inside forward line? Or is it going to be as conventional a matchup as that seems to suggest? Or do Tipperary move around here?
I think very similar to what we saw with John McGrath. Like John McGrath's best position is actually picking it up in the corners, but like it's very like a Lara Corbett type scenario. It's a case of wheeling over to there. Lara used to do a thing, and I think John McGrath does something quite similar, albeit in a different way, in that they peel away. Both of those players peel away when their man marker isn't looking, and it gets out into a position where the ball, let's say for example, the goal he got the last day, Jake Morris was running through. John McGrath very smartly pulls out to the side. And now it is a bit fortunate the way the ball breaks out to them, but he's nonetheless out there as an option if Jake Morris was to pop it off to him, whatever. John McGrath often finds himself in those positions, similar to the way Corbett did, but there's no point in starting in that position. Like, that's his end position. He wants to move out there and hopefully bring a full back with him, or at least make a full back decide, well, am I going to hold my ground and let him run out there, or am I going to follow him and open up an enormous gap for which the person with the ball in their hand can run straight into. So I think John McGrath starts in there. Exactly what they did with Hugh Lawler. Like, I mean, if it worked for Hugh Lawler in terms of one high ball went in, Hugh Lawler won it, but it was the only high ball that went in like that on top of him. It went in more to the corners. So I think they will try and start him there and try and, again, get him in to peel off or draw Downey out of there so that it's the two cornerbacks are now found in at full back. I think Niall O'Leary may follow McCarthy and O'Donoghue will follow Jason Ford. Like both players, I'm looking at O'Donoghue and O'Leary, both are fast, both are tigerish, both are are well able to hurl. Very marginal differences in them, but I just like the look of O'Leary.
We didn't get to see, Murph, how that was going to play out in the championship game because of McCarthy's early red card. So it may have played out with them being those two, or it could well have switched. You never know.
But that's it. We don't know what the plan was going to be that day. We never got to see it. And part of it, if it did play out that day, we'd have a lot more to pull apart in terms of saying, well, will Tipperary go back this way or will it be? So we actually know nothing about how that forward line will function. But it's so important. One of the things I looked when I saw Cork in the semi-final in particular, Dublin couldn't dislodge them from where they want to play. Like, of the 4 teams that played the semi-finals, I go as far as saying, of even seeing the quarterfinals, Cork were the most impressive in terms of being able to keep their shape compared to any other team. And I include Tipperary in that, I include Kilkenny in that, Galway, Dublin, whoever, Limerick as well. Cork in the semi-final in particular. And that's one of the reasons how I'm looking at matchups, and it's not to take away from the John McGrath matchup, but like one of the ones I was looking at was the Craig Morgan, Declan Dalton one. So Declan Dalton will be at 12, Craig Morgan will be on him, and we presume he's going to be on him. One of the things Dalton did in the semi-final last year that he did in the semi-final this year was drift down towards his own left half back position. So the position that would be taken up by Mark Coleman, drift back to there while the ball is in his own half, and see does the number 5, Dublin number 5, Tipperary number 5, whoever, follow him. If they follow him, well, then Cork get the head up and they pop the ball into the corner where Alan Connolly and Hayes and the boys are sprinting out into it. If he sits back, they pop it to Dalton and Dalton puts it over the bar. It's damned if you do, damned if you don't. So Dublin couldn't dislodge Cork from doing one or the other. Like they weren't able to get the grips. Tipperary may be better at it. Like Willie Connors might come across and allow Craig Morgan to sit a small bit, but come across to cut off that ball to Declan Dalton. I'm not saying Declan Dalton is the only out ball there, but it's certainly one that was really quite impressive. So there's a few matchups there where I'm going that how effective will Tipperary be at making Cork move away from that game plan? It's a very hard thing to see them doing at the moment. But one of the ones within that is the one you've alluded to, is the John McGrath Downey one. I think John McGrath is the man best suited for that, because I think a lot of lads underestimate John McGrath in terms of he's not the fastest player, okay, grand, but it's not. He's like TJ, it's not the fastest player, but it's not that. That's not what he relies on. He's outstanding skill and great understanding of the game.
His finishing, Murph, has been lethal this year. Like I think nearly every time he's peeled away into position, he is a lovely. Whether it's a shot across goal, like he's a lovely finisher. Yeah,
he's an outstanding finisher, and that's the thing. That's why I think when lads will maybe mark him, they might think that, okay, he's not going to skin me. He's not, but he'll skin you in another way. Like, as in, he'll skin you by doing exactly what we said there, peel away from you, make you decide. Suddenly he's the ball. And like, I was up training the other night, and I actually had a little look at the position where he struck that ball from to hit the top corner. Like, it's like there was a nice distance as well. Like, I know people say, geez, great finish, he hit the top corner. It's a fair distance in terms of getting it through one or two players and hanging it up in the top corner. His finishing is outstanding, and it's been really the hallmark of his career, like, is how good he is at finishing. So I think P fucked it didn't.
You said you're up training the night. You said, "Jeez, you definitely tried it, yeah."
I said it. Paddy Hogan was going in the goal, and I said I was saying Paddy Hogan going in here now, and I blasted it, and I'd say it went out into the field behind the goals. For anybody who knows Dane's Ford, I nearly put it in the primary school. I'll put it that way. For anybody who knows the near field in Danesfort, there's a road, the local road is behind it, and then the primary school is across the way. I went to the angle and I smacked it, and it was rising as I was heading out into the sheep field. So it's that's why I went, God, he's very good. He's very good. There's nobody here watching me, and I blared it out.
There's no,
yeah. So
well, look, the story's so much better if you just like kind of lick the air and it bangs into the top corner. You just go, still got it.
I'm a realist. Will. Like, I don't try and what might be actually amusing one of the times, if we ever get a bit of time, we always talk about these projects and we never do them, is try and recreate great goals like that. Myself and Skehill, in terms of two lads who'll never find themselves in that situation. You know, talking ones there like John tries one where he popped the ball back, did a little rise, flick it back. You know, what other ones are we thinking of there? I don't know. There's any other great goal, and see can we recreate
stick them in the comments. It's all about interaction.
One, I tell you, you're going to lose quite a few balls.
Shefflin's one where he tapped it down.
There you are.
That was deadly.
Yeah. What you want to do is get Joe Soap to try and recreate those. That's where the amusing part will come in.
Remember Damien Hayes' one against Tip in 2005, where he caught Hugh Maloney and threw him all the way. Yes. Hugh Maloney. So Murph, you need to get Richie down, right? and you get Richie and throw him out of the way.
Poor old Richie throws back out if I do that to him.
We can do Richie's goal in the Leinster final against Galway in the COVID year. Give that a try. The Canning one that goes over his shoulder and he kind of finished the back cross goal against Kilkenny. There's a load of them we can do here. Stick them in the comments, Spotify and YouTube. What do you want the guys to actually attempt and possibly give themselves a nasty injury at the tail end of the summer?
Hips, backs, everything just thrown out.
Jake Morris, right? So, again, he's got really good record against Cork. There's a reason I highlight this. So, 4 championship games against Tipperary in the last years. He scored goals in all of them. He averages, against Cork, I should say, for Tip. He averages 1-3 in those games from play, which is very good. He plays a slightly different role, perhaps a more, complete role for Tipperary now at this stage. He's not quite the electric forward who you're just trying to get in the ball and get him close to goal. He can now pull the strings a little bit, score from further out. Do we think Kieran Joyce goes after him again, Skehill? Is that the right matchup for Cork to try and keep a bit of a shackle on him?
Well, I think so because Murph was talking about Cork's shape, and I think he was probably leading towards the forward line predominantly. But I've been always looking towards the back line, and Cork have become quite ever since I remember the time they played Limerick in the Ireland final. In that first 20 minutes, they got just open up because they got pulled left, right, and centre with Limerick's movement, and since then they've been trying to get a set 6 defenders in their 6 positions and getting protective cover from others through positions 8 through 12, you could say. So that's why Rob Downey has been super critical at number 6 to try and maintain that section of the pitch and have a 2v1 situation if the ball goes over his head. So, I don't think he takes up a man-marking duty and gets pulled all over the place, Will. Yeah. I think he gets the people left and right from to do that. So, i.e. Mark Coleman and Kieran Joyce are going to have to pick up the likes of Ormond and pick up Jake Morris and try and maintain a structure inside their 6, because the last thing you want to do is for your 6 to vacate and get pulled out the side up too far. It just creates a small bit of pandemonium for forwards inside.
What I don't think you'd necessarily be putting Joyce as a man marker. I know we kind of talk about the Mikey Butler, this idea that maybe you're going to be the guy who goes out and follows. Joyce is such a good athlete. I presume that's part of why you'd want him around Morris as well.
Of course he's and I mean this with the greatest respect now, but the danger men in the half forward line are Ormond and Morris, right? I know Sam Farrell gets picked with the 12 on his back, right? But he's more, to me, like a worker, do you know what I mean? Around the middle of the park, let's say, who occupies the kind of the middle third of the pitch. So from a scoring perspective, he's not a long-range shooter for me. So you can allow others to try and pick him up. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But you have to try to keep Rob Downey in his 6th position. I think if you vacate the 6, you're going to be just creating too much problems for yourself. I think if you picture this now, he pictures Andrew Ormond. Okay, Andrew Ormond is a speedster. In fairness to him, Rob Downey's no slouch now, mind you. But Andrew Ormond then will start vacating the 10 and 12 positions, guaranteed. He just pulled Rob Downey out. He created these channels for the likes of Stakelum and Connors to run through. He created, say, a lot more space in front of his full forward line for damage to occur, and that's not what Cork want. Cork wants to keep a packed type of defence whereby they can do this. What's the word I use again now? This kind of emergency defenders, if you want to call it that, Murph, whereby if a ball goes in over their head, the second man arriving to support the full back line has to be Cork lad. So if a ball goes in in the half back line side, Tip lad has it. You have to create a 2v1 immediately, straight away. So that's where Rob Downey comes in.
That sounds like scramble defence to me.
Scramble defence, perfect, great terminology. So that's the kind of his position whereby he needs to occupy that, and he's good at it because he's strength and power and pace that he's able to hold up these attackers. So him maintaining his position is critical, but also in the same breath, the likes of Ormond and Morris trying to get him out of there and get on the ball in their own 60, the opposition 65, shoot from distance, deliver ball in like we've seen into the guys in the corners, and try and draw Downey out. Again, it's a match within the match, if you like. So yeah, but I don't. To answer your question in a long-winded way, I do believe Joyce will take up Morris because he'll operate, obviously either in the 5 position, 8, 9, wherever it is. Joyce is comfortable. He's really comfortable. He's played both, so it's an interesting one. Yeah, there's lots of those matchups, though, don't you feel? Don't you? There's not. Yeah, we watched games before, and I was commenting last year. If you go back to last year's final, I was thinking, Jarrett Fitzgibbon was in such a high vein of form that we were saying Cathal Malone would pick him up, and we were saying Tony Kelly could explode in this type of game, and look what happened. Malone went on Fitzgibbon, did a super job on him. Tony Kelly exploded, Clare in the round. So there's a couple of those matchups that you look at the moment and you say, well, if the likes of Brian Hayes gets the run on the likes of Connolly and rattles a couple of goals, geez, that could decide the match. If Jake Morris gets a run on, let's say, on the Tipperary half-back line, delivers loads of balls, shoots from distance, gets to 1-3 again. Again, that's a deciding factor. There's loads of those little 1v1 matches you could say that they could just tilt the scale in one's favour.
All right, Connolly versus Hayes then. So I thought Connolly did a really good job on Owen Cody. Obviously, he was a bit made of the fact that he actually outscored him from play with some of Connolly's long shooting the last day. He is a free machine as well if you do need a long-range free to go over. Is Connolly the right man to go on Brian Hayes, Murph?
Well, part of me is going like, what was wrong with Ronan Maher going back in there and TJ the last day and freeing Connolly up to push out? Like Connolly popped up.
Will Ronan Maher end up having to go on Darragh Fitzgibbon?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think so. I think if
Willie
anything,
I'm
kind of looking at Willie Connors there. Like Willie Connors, when he gets a bit between his teeth, I think he'll go. I'm not going to say he sacrificed his game. He's well able to come into it. But Willie Connors, I think, came off the last day. I'm going to check my program here now. I don't have any. Willie Connors came off after about 55 minutes of the last day. I'd say maybe 60 minutes, emptying the tank, like going hard at it. I don't think you push Ronan Maher that far up because Ronan Maher wants to be kind of sitting on the 6. On the 45 there, attacking forward onto ball, not wheeling back around on Darragh Fitzgibbon. The last day when Ronan Maher sits back into full back, like a savage man marker, very powerful. Like when we're talking about Hayes and the boys, we're talking and Connolly, particularly Hayes, we're talking about the power of him when he gets the ball in his hand and running at them. Like Ronan Maher, there's no lad bigger than him in terms of strong, or even stronger than him. My thing is just like Connolly popped up with 3 points in the first half the last day from play, like. Just simply because he pushed him up centre forward or centre back, I'd be looking at that straight away going, yeah, let's push him out centre back and let Ronan Maher. They're 2 interchangeable players. So like if it's a case that you put Connolly out and you go, do you know what, he's after getting 1 or 2 balls here, let's put Ronan Maher. You can flip that very quickly. I don't think either of those players necessarily need to continue playing in the same position that they started in. So like if you start Ronan Maher full back, you can go out. I expect to see exactly what happened the last day, whereby Connolly starts with 3 in his back, but walks out to centre forward straight away. And because I think they're hoping that anywhere they can get a score in the first while to settle them into the game, be that Connolly or be it Jason Ford, it doesn't matter. But as long as we're getting scores on the board, Connolly produces a bit more scores than Ronan Maher, which is a mad statement. Like when you're looking at it and you're going back through the team, Brian Connolly, like I was looking at my programme at halftime the last day, and the scores stopped at midfield, like back as far as Jake Morris had a point. And then Stakelum, in fairness, actually had points as well. But then he had 3 points beside Owen Connolly. I was going, Jesus, like how does this fella come up and do it? He's great at getting into positions. And he goes right up to the far 45. I even remember him in games in Thurles. I can't think of what game it was this year. Being in corner forward, just wandering up. So for me, I think Ronan Maher is going to go back in full back, take up Hayes. And I think Ronan Maher would relish that opportunity because he knows how important Hayes is to the Cork cause. And I think he'll go back in and say, so what, I'm not centre back. I'll go in here, do a savage job, come out with a few big balls and be a platform for Tipperary to win. So
is some of the benefit in that as well, Murph, that there's actually quite a few versatile defenders within that Tipperary back 6. So like Brian O'Mara's got a bit of, I don't know if exposure is the right word, experience maybe is the better one, in different positions over the last few years. So like if he needs to move around, he's able to do that. Ronan Maher is an all-star in multiple positions in the defence. So you can trust that. If you say, right, Ronan, you go back for a spell at full back or corner back, then maybe you come back out at 6. When you've got guys who can move around like that, presumably that's very helpful, especially if Cork do try and drag them around a bit.
Yeah, because it's not a case the players are going to get caught out of position. Like caught out of position by where they were lined out on the programme, but not caught out of position in terms of not able to hurl there. Like Michael Breen did the majority of his hurling midfield and half forward, really. Like, even wing back, he's in a corner back at the moment. If he finds himself out around midfield, there's no bother to him. Sam O'Farrell was left wing back of my team of the league. He's up at left half forward now, can very easily find himself in the backs or forwards. Tipperary have great balance there in terms of where players can play. Ronan Maher, off the top of my head, well, Poddy definitely has an all-star at fullback.
Ron has 19, isn't he?
There you are. Like so for any of these lads, it's not a crazy statement to say that, Ronan Maher is going to start this game at fullback. If Tipperary were willing to start him on TJ for the threat that TJ might pose, albeit it's a different threat than Hayes poses in the form that it comes in, I think they're willing to throw him back there to do a savage man marking job on Hayes, and I think you expect to see Connolly out at centre back. Then that's it for me. Completely hold my hands up at Sunday if we were looking at Connolly in at full back doing a man marking job. Wouldn't be shocked if that either, but I'm just thinking in terms of where Tipperary are going to get the most amount of scores. Connolly turns up at 3 points, which he averages about 4 points a game, which is mad stuff, So I just think straight away they push him up a small bit and put him out to centre back.
Yeah, because again, it's good to have options, and so that's going to be the key, I think, coming into this game as well. Alan Connolly as the kind of, to me, he's an X factor when it comes to this game scale, because he scores goals of all sorts of different types. He creates problems because he is so direct. Obviously, he's coming off the back of a hat-trick the last day as well. This is a guy, again, who's a great record against Tip. Was having a quick look through the results. 5-1 he scored in championship games against Tipperary so far as well. So that's a decent return. Maybe a few more points, Alan, you could add to pad out the stats a little bit. But to have scored 5 goals, I mean, if they're going to get goals the weekend, Connolly's going to be a huge threat for them as well.
But sometimes we don't appreciate how much he opens up for other attackers, I think. Because when he gets the ball, it's a rarity you see Alan Connolly get the ball. He'll turn out on the 45 and pop it over the bar. His first instinct is always black spot. What can I create here with just a run? And he's quick. I won't say he's deceptively quick. He is quick, but he's got this fantastic tight touch work when he's running the ball, sort of. So it's a rare you see him actually get dispossessed. You know what I mean? He's got this ability to break tackles, get through traffic in a very traffic zone, maintain possession of the ball. And there's not a lot of lads in the country that can do that. It's a fantastic skill. So if you watch him now closely Sunday, he'll get a ball. First ball he'll get. And he'll turn, take his men on. He won't get dispossessed, but he'll create something. If he gets fouled, fair. If he's a shot off, grand. But then he's great at giving an out ball too to guys coming off his shoulder. So he's got. I think everyone looks at Hayes. Well, I sometimes I'm guilty of it myself. Will I look at Hayes as being their premier forward, and he's their main guy, and he's Hurler of the Year form, absolutely. But Connolly's not far behind in terms of what he creates and the kind of the panic he creates in defences too. I just remember the game in Thurles, was it last year? He just ran them ragged, ran them really ragged, and it was this was kind of his, it was kind of when he really announced himself. I know he was there and he announced himself, but it was he really announced himself as a top tier forward and then backs it up this year. So he's top drawer, and I think what they have as well in the Cork forward line is they've got a range. They're variable, so they're not just limited to one position. Bar Hoggy, I think, to be honest, he is always going to be in the corner forward position. The rest of them, they could be anywhere. Dalton, as you said, could be at midfield, could be show up a wing back shooting. Shane Barrett is across the half forward line all the time. Jim Hurley is the same way. They have no real set structure, so that's why I'm just questioning the situation with Manmark and Will. I'm not sure. If you I know we saw Connolly centre back the last day and he went forward, but him picking up Shane Barrett is a little bit of a different kettle of fish for me. In terms of a pace perspective, the same with Hayes. It's hard to get the matches right, and truthfully, I can make 5 or 6 assumptions here. I could get them wrong until I see them Sunday lining out. It's because you just don't know what each team is or what Tip are trying to achieve in their defensive setup. Do they want to get more, as Murph said, attacking prowess and get shooting from distance? Do they want to get sit off and have the midfielders deeper? I don't know. It's just it's gas because there's so many variables, as we say. I think the one when we go back to the midfield situation, if I just jump out there for a second, the Fitzgibbon one, you see what a team does last year when they can shut him down. You go a long way. And I backed Cork last year because I thought they were so impressive in their semi-final victory against Limerick. It was hard for me to see them being beaten by Clare, but Cathal Malone did such a good job. And Cathal Malone is underestimating the Clare team, but he was able to do that job. So is it Willie Connors? I can't see Stakelum doing it, Murph. I just don't. He's more of a forward kind of shooter kind of type of guy. Connors has that kind of grit about him. I use that word often. But the guy that'll just stay with Fitzgibbon, not really renowned for his attacking motion, you could say. It's more about getting around, breaking ball, breaking everything that goes around him, being that kind of nuisance in the midfield area. Perfect for Darragh Fitzgibbon. And if you can nullify him as well as the likes of Barrett or Hayes, you're going an awful long way to victory. Huge long way, because they don't he's kind of a catalyst too, isn't he? Fitzgibbon. He makes an awful lot. And he shows up in great positions. This year particularly, he's been showing up an awful lot on the 12 wing if you're, you know what I mean, coming through hitting for goals. So you get on top of him, lad, you're a long way forward.
Yeah. So ahead of chatting to you guys, I was having a quick look back at how things have changed across the meetings we've had so far this year between the teams, and went back to the league game in Semple Stadium, which is very early doors in the league itself in the normal round. And a couple of things have changed about both teams, really. But one that kind of stood out to me about Tipperary, because you've spoken in such glowing terms about their half-forward line and the scores they've been getting. And look, the Galway game, everyone in the inside and half-forward line had 2 points each by half an hour in. They've been motoring well as a machine. Garrod O'Connor kind of becomes the forgotten man here, Murph. And, we were talking about how important he was, and even early on in the year, he was hoping to carry his Fitzgibbon form in, and he was an undisputed starter in the league. And now he's been supplanted, but not, I think, because of his own form, but I think largely because of the form of the forwards who've got in ahead of him.
Yeah, like it is. It's remarkable to see it. I think he was probably our player of the league last year. Maybe he was here previously, but yeah, he had an outstanding league. Didn't transfer over, unfortunately, for him in the championship. Like and plenty of players last year, in particular for Tipperary, you could say that for. Like I do remember them kind of moving through even one or two free takers as well. There just wasn't things clicking for them there, and probably for Garrod O'Connor's the same. But it's remarkable. I don't believe he's injured at the moment anyway. I think he's available, but just not even seen him in the 26th the last day considering. But having said that, when you look through the subs in particular, like I'm looking at the names there going, geez, a lot of these lads have really stood up at different stages and been very important for, like Alan Tynan being a 26 there as well. Like, Alan Tyne's been outstanding for them. There's been plenty of players there. Seamus Kennedy's come back from injury. Joe Caesar has hurled really well at different times. Boat McGrath's, Oisin Donoghue saying no more. He in the semi-final is outstanding. Conor Stakelum, 3 points. Okay, he started the semi-final. He's down to be on the bench, but 3 points. Like there's so many lads there. Dara Stakelum came on. Like it's competitive, and it's subtly competitive, I suppose, is the way you put it, in that like they're quietly coming in, again, as I said at the start of the show, talking about Cork's strength. Like Cork have a quite obvious strength in their bench, but the bench there for Tipperary have all stood up as well when they've been brought in, and they've been able to use them or utilise them whatever way they wanted, depending on the job. But it's remarkable, yeah, that Garrod O'Connor, considering if you said this time, not even this time last year, if you said during the league last year that this guy won't be on the 26th for the All-Ireland final, geez, you'd be very surprised. You probably thought he would be the fulcrum of it. You'd be thought he'd be centre and probably going for Hurler of the Year, based on we couldn't, maybe twofold, because he was hurling so well, but also we couldn't maybe see where other lads were going to come out of the woodwork and have that form. So yeah, it is remarkable, but it just goes to show you, like, how form can drop you out of a team, but also send you flying into centre, I suppose, central on the team for an All-Ireland final. So it is quite remarkable, really.
I naturally would save the goalkeeper question for Skehill on this one. And the other one is that really since the second meeting between the two teams, Rhys Shelley has become the number one choice. There was a bit of back and forth, Hogan and Shelley, when it came to the league, and now he is the undisputed starter and really has been since kind of that period in the championship. Why has he emerged as the number one?
His striking ability, Will.
Okay.
It's his distribution for me, game management, distribution. So I go back to the game they played against, wasn't it Clare they played in Ennis, wasn't it? Yeah, it was, yeah. And remember, there was a really windy day, so Tip got the jump on Clare. Didn't they rattle a couple of goals in the first half, Will? You might have to jog my memory here a little bit, but anyways, I remember I think Clare had come back to draw against Cork the week previous or 2 weeks previous. Tip came to town then and say they got a couple of goals on Clare. Tip were playing against the Breeze in the second half. Shelley gave an exhibition of distribution to manage the game, especially when Clare will come back into their pomp. And he's grown since then. He's become a very, very important player for them. And if you watch his distribution, it's rangy. So it's not just some goalkeepers that say they're limited to short range, long range. Do you know what I mean? Well, it's very hard to see some goalies that can do the short, mid, and long. He does them all very well. So they use him, you see, for the give and go, where they give it to full back, give it back to him, and he pumps it. So he's got distance. He's got very good distribution to the 5 and 7 wings, and he can hit the center of the park. So like he's got a good range. I think Cahill is using that, because when the game is in tough moments and you need to secure primary possession after puck out, you need a goalkeeper to execute it. That's what he's done. So like I think that's number one. We don't see enough of the shot stopping or the general play to say there's a clear difference between the two keepers. It's all on distribution. He has the ball in his hands probably, I hazard a guess, 35 times in the game. So like if you can maintain a possession through your own puck out, geez, it's great for a team like Tipperary who can move, who utilise movement an awful lot. Do you know what I mean? And so we saw it an awful lot in the Galway game, albeit the challenge that was put up wasn't hectic. But how many times do we see that ball go to green grass in front of a chip lad and a score come off it? You know, that's why he's in the nets. And even if I go through not to jump the gun too much, but when I went through the All-Star selection, it was a tricky one, to be honest, because I don't think anyone has put their head above the parapet majorly, to be honest. So I went with him. Now I appreciate this is post semi-final. There's a final to come. Things can change. Well, I get that, right? But right now, when I'm sitting in the pre-match preview, I think that he's done just enough to be and be such a good influence for his team. He warrants an All-Star.
Yeah, the reason we're going to do our All-Star picks before the end of the pod is because loads of people were like, I want to see what you guys would pick before being influenced by the final, because guaranteed your teams will be different after the final.
Did you find it hard? Did you find this All-Star team hard to pick?
In parts, no. But then I was very aware of that, where I was like, I can see.
I found this very hard. Jesus.
So,
Can we jump
no.
in, please? Please, I'm like a child. Can we jump
You want to get to it? Of course you can. We can touch the other bits around the final after that. So go on, Skell. Take us through your
I can't
all-star
go first.
selection.
Can we go every
What do
second
you
one,
mean?
please?
You're the one banging the table to get this going.
I am
I've never
shit.
seen it.
Dad, I am
Can't go
shit.
first.
I've missed someone, honestly. I'm
Right.
shit.
Will I go first? So
Right, do your goal. Each do your goalkeeper then. Go on.
I've missed someone. Go on, Murph.
again, I always give this to Skehill, and he's probably going to be right. I have Patrick Collins down.
And I have absolutely no issue with that, lad. No issue.
I know, yeah. But I won't wander into the quagmire that would be an argument with you about goalkeepers. If you were passionate about it, that's all I'm saying. But no, I have Patrick Collins down at the moment. But
One for
again,
Shelley, one for Collins.
Yeah.
Okay.
But what I will say during this is that I think there's certain positions where you can flag it to say depending on the final, and that is one depending on the final. Like if Rhys Shelley's puckouts, and that just to double down on what you said, Scal, if Rhys Shelley's puckouts, when one of the questions you said to us, Will, before the pod today was the matchups, and I had Craig Morgan, Declan Dalton, John McGrath, Owen Downey, and then I just had Rhys Shelley. I just had that if he gets traction, that'll be huge for them. Do you know, and it's even more so than Patrick Collins. Like Patrick Collins seems to nearly have a system at play in front of him even more than Rhys Shelley does in terms of the lads making runs and different things. So if Rhys Shelley gets off his puckouts, it's not a matchup, but it's very important. But anyway, off we go. There we are.
This is me before Skell goes. The message was just me on the train going, here's 4 or 5 things for us to chat about. So it was very scientific, but go on.
Yeah, but you killed me, didn't you do that?
I know, but sure, people were asking me. And people
Cupping's
going,
playing more than that.
who have you picked for Young Hurler of the Year? And then I had to go back and double check that you can be 21 at the start of the year if you're picking us. I think Young Hurler is going to be difficult. But anyway.
This is a very hard team to pick, lads, honestly.
I have Robert Doyle, going for the three.
Give us your line. Yeah, give us your line. Go on.
Robert Doyle, Hugh Lawler, Sean O'Donoghue.
Doyle, Lawler, O'Donoghue.
I think O'Donoghue's nailed on. I think Lawler, despite the semi-final, is also nailed on. But anyway.
Jeez, I'm different. I've cheated here, to be honest, lads.
How have you cheated? Go on.
We get one line into the team. That's all it took.
I have Donoghue, Lawler, Connolly.
So you're approaching this by way that the all-star selectors will pick it in that they'll pick the 6 best backs as they view it.
I had to work because I wrecked my brain. I was 8 or 12. Like, just as way too many.
Jeez. Sure, no wonder you found it so hard. Right. Well, okay. So mine is Doyle, Lawler, and Donoghue, and yours is.
Mine's Donoghue, Lawler, and Connolly.
Okay.
Sure, let it happen. It's your team, lad. It's your team.
You can explain to the All-Star Committee why.
We also have to remember this isn't real. But go on.
No.
Like I can fix it. Like so the guy who lost out here for me was Robert Doyle.
Okay.
You know, within was Robert Doyle. He's the one that lost out for me.
Yeah.
Because, but I went through them, like, I had to stick with my gut here. Hugh Lawler was in Hurler of the Year form up to the semi-final, right? And the semi-final was not of his doing, if you ask me. So, I don't know who's been excellent for Cork. He was top class in the semi-final in terms of his scramble defending, really, if you want to call that. And Owen Connolly, we've covered him in abundance already, fellas. I couldn't justify putting him in a half-back lane when he's been 3 innings back for the course of the year. And I just felt harsh on Lawler, or on Doyle, excuse me. So I'm sticking with that one.
Okay. Sorry, Murph, to cut across here, but who was your other cornerback? You had O'Donoghue, Lawler, and who was your other cornerback?
Doyle, Robert Doyle.
Robert Doyle, yeah. That's grand. Sorry, I was trying to find a pen either side of me to get these written down.
Yep.
So we can tell
Okay.
people.
This one's going to get me in trouble.
Go on. First time you said this. Go on.
Now you have to go.
I have huge value in Brian O'Mara, lads.
Okay.
So and then I as Kyle Hayes of Savage, Rob Downey. I know.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now
that is a haymaker of a line compared to what a lot of people will think.
No, what should happen here is you should have had to pick either Rob Downey or Hayes.
You see, that's what should happen, right? But it's not happening. Okay. Well. And you're going to say, where's Ronan Maher? And I hear you, lads.
Yeah, it's also in my mind, yeah.
Yeah.
Gee, lads. Okay, I didn't think it was going to be this different, right? Okay.
Go on, Mark. Who are you picking there?
I have Kieran Joyce, Owen Connolly, and Mark Coleman.
Ooh. So Ronan Maher is not getting in then to either of these teams.
He's not, but like now where I'm coming at this from is that Was he better than Hugh Lawler? At the moment, I'm saying no. Was he better than Owen Connolly? I'm saying no. And I'm not shoehorning him into cornerback instead of Robert Doyle, for example. Do you know? Like, for me, there's a middle ground to be found here. Like, does Robert Doyle deserve to lose out because a lad, let's say hypothetically, a left half back was playing fantastic? No, your man, a left half back loses out because there's another lad at left half back playing fantastic. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just looking at it going, Kieran Joyce, Owen Connolly, and Coleman.
This is a really competitive line in the field. I think it's going to be difficult to pick the All-Stars.
I didn't think it'd be that drastically different, so it's actually interesting. That's great. It's good.
Murph, your reason for not having Hayes in quarterfinal defeat is too early for him? That part of it?
I just looked at it one-on-one with the lads there because I did honourable mentions to try and make sure that I wasn't like leaving anyone out. And I would put them one-on-one against each of those. And I just went... Kieran Joyce had to fill the gap against... Kieran Joyce has been asked to fill the gap quite several times. Like for quite a while in this Cork team of the last years, he was number 6 and the most consistent player. And then it's like, for some reason, not to say a little bit of doubt crept in, but some people nearly doubted his capability. Last year, he went in midfield for the semi-final and played absolutely outstanding. And I think it was last year was the semi-final. Yeah, he played outstanding midfield. And then... when Rob Downey got injured this year, he stepped in centre-back. And people almost forgot that this lad was the centre-back for the last few years and that drifting in from wing-back would it suit him. He's just been so solid. Like, I just think he's a really good defender and I think he's had a really good year. It's not me having any sort of bias towards him. I don't even know the fella. I just think that Kieran Joyce this year has been better than Kyle Hayes. That's really it. Kyle Hayes, we all know he's outstanding, but Kieran Joyce, Owen Connolly, Mark Coleman for me. And Coleman's outstanding as well. Go on.
Right, go on, Skehill. Who's in midfield here?
I've gone for a Cork midfield, Fitzgibbon and Mahoney. Okay. And come here, this is one of the lines where I tried to get somebody else into it. Like I was looking at Hayes for Dublin, and I was thinking, no, just not enough. Do you know what I mean? I thought Keane Kinney, Jordan Malloy was more towards the latter end of the year. I said, geez, no, can't put him in. Do you know, the Tipperary midfield, I think.
I was going to say, was Willie Connors tempting her?
Yeah, no, I don't think so, to be honest, because I just think there's been different impacts from each midfield. Fitzgibbon and Mahoney deadly going forward. Do you know what I mean? They create so much for Cork as well, and distribution. And they're a relatively new pairing in terms of Tipperary, so I couldn't justify putting one of them in ahead of the two boys. And there was nobody from other county that we didn't think about, or didn't think about that was said, you know, he's worth a shout. So it was just the two, Fitzgibbon and Mahoney for me.
Okay. Murph?
So here, Fitzgibbon, automatic. This is another one where I was conflicted over, and not with a Kilkenny hat me, but Keane Kenny and Tim O'Mahony were the two lads. So I was like, which was it? Tim O'Mahony, outstanding in the semi-final, really good. I probably felt up until that Keane Kenny just marginally had a better year than him, but I this is the one position. No, sorry, I mentioned it already with Patrick Collins and Rhys Shelley. This is the other position where I went, if Tim O'Mahony has a 6 out of 10 final, I think he's going to get the All-Star, if that makes sense. But as of now, I put in Keane Kenny and Darren Fitzgibbon. And I would hope that's not with Kilkenny tinted glasses. I think he kind of was up until now. But again, like I said, there's an asterisk beside it because that's a very tight one. Yeah. And it's probably last year. Keane Kenny just missed out on last year, but up until the semi-final was probably in there. But again, the final kind of sealed it for a few lads.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I was definitely waiting on what happens in the final as well. So your half-forward line, Skehill.
This is where things go arseways, lads.
What?
It didn't go arseways in your half-back line, but go on.
No, I'm content with the half-back line. I just think this is going to go arseways in me. I have Jake Morris, Cathal Mannion and Shane Barrett. Why? I knew he'd whistle. I know he'd do something. I know he'd react. What is it? What did I do wrong?
You didn't do... You put in a player there and took out a player that I didn't expect that to happen.
Who's the one he took out that you were expecting?
Andrew Ormond.
I know. It was Tamer Cahill.
Okay.
And I'm not justifying my decision.
I'll be honest, I have Cathal Mannion in because I was looking at score contributions. And I know lads will say Cathal Mannion was playing in Leinster. So what? Cathal Mannion was outstanding this year, you know. And I was looking at it going in terms of his own individual performance. I think Shane Barrett's absolutely fantastic. But when I looked at it, do you know what? I actually looked at it from the point of view to say, Cathal Mannion, can he be in this team, getting to the quarter-final, Galway not playing well? And when I looked at all the other scores across the board, I went, geez, it's very hard to deny him here. Like, he obviously hurled well, but I was like, it's really hard to deny him here in this position. So I put Jake Morris, Andrew Ormond and Cathal Mannion. And I say that thinking Shane Barrett is an absolutely brilliant hurler, but
Yeah, see, Cotamania for me, Murph, I was going through it. He played Kilkenny twice, right, and Tipperary. That was the real top level position. And he played Dublin, right? So the first day down in Kilkenny, he got 17 points. It's not the first day. It was in the
First
wet
round,
day,
yeah.
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 And then when he played Kilkenny in the Leinster final, again, really effective. Played Tipperary in the quarter final, really effective again. So I said he played well against the two semi-finalists, basically. One finalist, as you could say.
Yeah.
So I couldn't. And then Shane Barrett, for me, makes an awful lot happen in the Cork forward line. And Drummond, I can fully appreciate it. I can see where you're coming from. It's a toss for coin for me.
Yeah, it's close. It's close.
It depends who plays well in the final for me between Barrett and Drummond.
It has to be a while since a quarter-finalist has won an All-Star.
Did Lee Chin win one recently? No?
No, they were semi-finalists the year he won his one.
Oh.
It was, as I recall, it was him and Dee O'Keefe in 19 when they got to the semi.
I don't have it offhand now, but I can't remember. That's when I have to go diving into it.
It's one for answers on a postcard or a cereal box, or just put them in the comments. Whatever works.
I don't see past Jake Morris or Cahill at the moment.
Okay.
I think the one that's up for debate is the Shane Barrett one. I think it's a shootout between himself and Ormond.
So Murph, do you have Barrett in?
No, I have Andrew Ormond in.
Okay.
So I have Morris, Ormond, and Mannion. Yeah.
Yeah. So Morris is definitely in for both. The Mannion's definitely in. Sorry,
Morris is in. Morris has an All-Star.
Who's your other wing forward, Skehill? Sorry.
Jake Morris, Cahill and Shane Barrett.
Oh yeah. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, I have Barrett down there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, Ormond's going to be in the shout in a few minutes when we talk about young hurler of the year as well. But anyway, go on. Inside forward line.
So when Cork played Waterford, Mrs. turned to me, right? Okay.
I expected you to name 3 players, and then suddenly.
Let me take you back to the Waterford.
Once upon a time,
so let me take you back where it all began, right? So Grace said to me, she goes, Patrick Horgan's going to get an All-Star. And I said, no, he's not. And she said, I'll bet you €10, okay? And I said, I will take that bet. And now I'm like, I want him to get an All-Star, but I don't want him to. I don't want Grace to be right. Okay, so it's like
if he pops over a dozen frees and Cork win the final, he has a chance.
And I hear you. So I asked her now. I said, who do you think? Let's say he'd beat out. Like who's so close to him? Let's say where does it come down to? Now there's 3 guys for me here. And like bear in mind, I've only won Kilkenny for that like this so far. I don't even view Hurler so far. Like so. I have Mossy.
Unless there's a massive shock here, I don't see a dub getting in at all.
If Mossy Keown's getting All-Star, it's absolutely ridiculous. He was borderline Hurler of the Year stuff. Like he scored 6 from play. Was in the semi-final.
6, yeah, 6 from play. Yeah.
Like if you're asking me who was nailed on, he's one of the nails nailed on. So I'd be absolutely amazed if he doesn't get it. Brian Hayes is number 2, lads.
Of this 3 forward line, of the 6 forward line, Jake Morris, Brian Hayes, and Mossy are the 3 lads I have nailed on anyway.
Right. Yeah, so I can write them into Murph's team as well.
Yeah, so Mossy and Hayes. Now the last one, I have Alan Connolly, and I was so close with Sean Curry. I thought it was going to be very harsh to him by. Do you know what I mean?
I have someone. You haven't even mentioned the fella I have there yet.
John McGrath is harsh to him by. Jason Ford is harsh to him by. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of lads here.
There's one lad you still haven't mentioned that I'm just going. Keane O'Sullivan. Keane O'Sullivan scored 2-6 in the quarter final. I can't deny him at the moment. At the moment, I have Keane O'Sullivan in there, and I think he fully deserves one. And I fully agree with you. If I was to go to honourable mentions, I have Alan Connolly, I have Hoggy, I have Jason Ford, I have
all that. There as honourable mention, but
one of the unfortunate things of the All Ireland quarter final was Keane O'Sullivan's 2-6 from play being dwarfed. It's ridiculous,
Yeah.
2-6.
I know that.
Do you know what I mean?
Connolly got 3-2.
Yeah, he did get 3-2. Yeah, but he was also on the team. He was also on the team that won by about 20 points. Keane O'Sullivan wasn't.
But if Alan Connolly plays decent on Sunday,
I agree. Yeah.
I think this is done. But it's very hard for me to say. When I go to the team, right, in terms of semi-finalists, so one semi-finalist only has 2 in Lawler and Mossy Keown. The other semi-finalist has none on my team. Which doesn't sound to me like that would be the case. I'm trying to predict it, but also pick what I feel is right. So to me, it was like I was looking at Hayes, Curry, and O'Sullivan. Could I get one of the 3 of them in? I just couldn't fit them.
Yeah, I'm the one who's always accused of being anti-dub, so I have to kind of play devil's advocate for Dublin here. like when it comes to it, and in a way it shouldn't matter because you should be picking the best 15 players when it comes to an All-Star. But unless your O'Sullivan prediction comes true here, Murph, can Dublin feel hard done by to have such an incredible year and not get an All-Star?
Not really, no. I think as a standalone, like I can't put any other Dublin player there to say that they were absolutely flawless right into the point that they were put out of the championship. Whereas I could look at Cian O'Sullivan going, like, that man's goal against Limerick in the quarter-final, pivotal for them, getting to the semi-final. And then he rattles off 2-6 in the semi-final from play while they were getting beaten very solidly. And he came off injured during that game as well. I don't think he even finished the game. I don't think you can ever feel hard done. No, you can. All-Stars can be quite political as well. That's the other thing to throw out there as well. Like it's a fickle old thing. Like, there's quite a lot of lads who would have missed out for one reason or another. Like I wouldn't be a fan of picking a lad, pick the 6 best backs. Let's say 6 best backs are all centre backs and you pick all of them. I don't like that. That's the way it's done. So if I'm looking at it, I like to put a healthy dose of, well, this is where that flavour. And granted, I got it completely wrong last year. I think I played David Fitzgerald. I put him at midfield and he was playing wing forward the whole time. Podge corrected me on that one. But for me at the moment, like, we're picking this on, the semi-finals are done, the finals are yet to be played. If they win the All-Stars tomorrow, Cian O'Sullivan for me is corner forward. And I completely appreciate that Alan Connolly might explode in the final and that's Cian O'Sullivan's time gone. Also, Shane Barrett might explode in the final, and that's Cathal Mannion's All-Star potentially gone, or Andrew Ormond's. This is the fickle thing about it. But at the moment, the criteria which we're going by, semi-finals, done and dusted, I'm kind of quite happy. I say quite happy, even. I just like seeing even Cian O'Sullivan there. I think he deserves it.
Yeah. Look, I think you'd be content with your choices. You've gone, I think, a little bit left field, because some of us were thinking Murph was going to be a Dublin All-Star. Maybe that goes towards Sean Curry. But has the semi-final obviously has weighted that towards O'Sullivan a bit here? Understandably.
Yeah, it has. There is a bit more weighting on the semi-finals and finals, I think, and I think there kind of has to be. In one side, it does a disservice to players, because sometimes you see lads having fantastic leagues and even have brilliant round robins and just maybe petering off, and then you have some lads kind of come along and they get a kind of an Indian summer at the end of their hurling championship and they have a fantastic, let's say, quarter-final, semi-final, final, and they find themselves with All-Stars. But there is a merit to also saying that, well, these are the biggest games. Like, so a fella has a blinder in the semi-final and gets their team over the line, like, that's All-Star type stuff. Like, that's kind of the criteria you also look for. So I think it is fair to be weighted. But we also know that's just how it works anyway. Like, we all just know that the popular vote will be if some fella shoots the lights out and there's some, like if Hoggy, again, I'll go back to that one there. If Hoggy at the moment, he's not in my team, but if he has a fantastic final and scores a great goal or scores a winning point, that man has an All-Star done. Do you know? So that's the way these things break down in the end,
Yeah, I tweeted out your teams, just kind of give people something to talk about.
Baiting people.
Yeah. Our good buddy at Gazmun97, straight in there. So who's Skell's Hurler of the Year then? Which was naturally going to be our next question.
At the moment it's Brian Hazlett. I think there's a bit of a distance in it. So the harder question to answer here is, who is the nominees? Like, who's behind him at the moment? Who's challenging him? If this is out of 100%, Will, right now, Brian Hayes is 80% of the vote. Right now.
Do we take it that Darragh Fitzgibbon is also in contention?
We do.
Yeah.
I think Owen Connolly's in it as well.
Yeah, I think so.
And depending on the final, Jake Morris is in it for me.
Yeah, I think that's fair. So it's like we probably have 3 to 4 other contenders, but Hayes out on his own a little bit at the moment. Is that a fair summation?
Yeah, Hayes to get passed out. This is just me talking. He has to have a terrible final, which I hope he doesn't for his own sake. Mm-hmm. And the likes of Darragh Fitzgibbon has to come up with a man-the-match performance. Either Darragh Fitzgibbon or Jake Morris or the like have to have, or Owen Connolly in Murph's stance for me, have to have an absolute man-the-match performance, clear cut, to somehow overtake him. I just think the distance has been that great between him and the rest of the pack this year.
Okay.
And up to quarter-final stage, like I was given great hope for being a defender's person for Hugh Hurler, saying, "This is possible, my friend. It's possible."
Oh, yeah.
It's just the way these games go. They're decided on big games. So
Definitely. So for you, Murph, to play devil's advocate here, if Slieve is playing at 5:30 on Sunday afternoon, who's the hurler of the year if Tipperary do win the All Ireland?
Well, Brian Hayes still wins it if Brian Hayes gets 1-2, 1-3 in the final and they lose. I think Brian Hayes still gets it.
Was the last player to win it without winning the All Ireland Ozzie Gleeson?
I believe so. Yeah,
I
can't think of anyone else.
Still in Callan should have won that year, but anyway.
But sure, that was probably no, I won't get into it. I was going to say that was like there was a lot of debate around then about Paddy Maher was up as well, and then the split vote.
Split vote was the argument.
Yeah. But like I always found that conversation, like it's done now. That conversation, like you don't want to take away from us. At least was one hurler of the year, one young hurler of the year that year. You know, it's like no one spoke about it for Tony Kelly. I don't know. Anyway. Let's not dig up the past. But if Slieve is playing...
By the way, the listeners are all about digging up the past. But anyway.
I know they love it, yeah. But if Slieve is playing, and it depends on who hurls best out of Owen Connolly and Jake Morris. If Owen Connolly stands up and has a big game, I think there's your hurler of the year. If Jake Morris comes with his usual tally and knocks over his 4 to 6 points and Tipperary win, there's your hurler of the year. But I still have to caveat that though with... If Cork lose by a point and Brian Hayes says scores 1-3, Brian Hayes is hurler of the year, you know. So there's fine margin in it, but it'll take a nice bit to knock Brian Hayes off it at the moment.
Right. A bit like Nadine Coyle, I might have to check the birth certs on a few of these when it comes to young hurler of the year. So the rule on this, I had a quick look at the GPA website last week. 21 at the start of the season.
Yeah.
You can be 21 at the start of the season. So technically there might be 22-year-olds in here. But 21...
Well, they're usually 22 at the moment when they win it anyway, I think. But anyway,
oftentimes, yeah.
Go on. Right. So...
Go on, Murph. Who do you like?
Adam English.
Okay.
And my right behind me is Sam O'Farrell then. So the honourable mention is Sam O'Farrell, but I have Adam English. Jesus, he was central to Limerick this year. Like,
Murph, I thought I was coming with a bolter.
Oh, Adam English. Adam English is a bolter.
No, I thought the whole place, public, media, everything was going to try go for Darren McCarthy. I thought I was going to have to battle you. I thought you were going to pick a McCarthy. And I was going with English.
No, I'd be honest now. It's no offence to McCarthy. I'd pick Sam O'Farrell. I think, again, kind of an unsung hero, if you want to put it that way. That man was left half back in my team in the league. He now finds himself a left half forward and is flying it. So... Yeah. For me, if Adam English isn't to get it, it's Sam O'Farrell. But Adam English has been absolutely ridiculous this year. Even when at times Limerick weren't going well, Adam English was hurling well.
So you're both going Adam English young hurler of the year, and you're both going Hayes hurler of the year.
Yeah, so I was going Adam English as number one. I didn't go Sam O'Farrell, Murph, to be honest.
Okay.
I was going, depending on the final, and I was putting an asterisk beside it for Jim Healy.
Yep. Fair enough.
Again, asterisks.
Again, asterisks. To highlight the asterisks there.
So, but by the way, Adam English was born in 2003. Can't find his exact birth date, but I assume he's okay. Because he's 22
but sure.
now.
He'd be 21 on the 1st of January, so that's fine.
Yeah, I think he's okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on, Skehill thinking hard.
Who's your bolter?
No, he's doing the maths here.
I thought Adam English was going to be a bolter. Right? I was certain Murphy was going to pick McCarthy.
Why did you think that? Why?
I don't know, because I've just listened to the way you've spoken about him recently. Like we've all lauded him.
Yeah.
He's going to go for McCarthy now, but I can't get away from English. I'm going to agree with you in my mind.
You were getting ready for an argument there now, and there was no argument to be had.
Healthy debate, my friend. Healthy debate.
Oh, I hate when you agree. I was really hoping it was going to be quite a big difference.
Give me so we did the percentage chance there, lads, right? Or I did anyway, in terms of Brian Hayes. Give me your percentage chance, right, between the three guys as of right now. So English obviously can't improve his standing. For young hurler, sorry.
Yeah.
He obviously can't improve his standing.
Yeah.
So why do you give him the percentage chance of him getting it?
Adam English?
Yeah.
70.
70. That's high. That's good.
I've gotten these percentages wrong. I feel you do percentages different, but go on. No, do you know what? 50 and 225s. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, probably around a bit higher than 50 maybe. I think, again, if Sam O'Farrell goes well, everything he's done this year, that could influence. And I don't mean this in the bad way about recency bias, but what I mean is, say if he has a really good All-Ireland final, people will turn around and go, look what he's done for 2 teams this year. Look at how well he's played young Hurler year.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fair.
Yeah,
which is why I give him a really strong chance.
Yeah, true.
Okay. I have to admit, Sam O'Farrell was who I was thinking when I saw young Hurler of the year being debated last week. But Adam English is a very fair shout. This is his best year. I think we all agree this has been his best year for Limerick. His breakthrough season.
By a mile.
Yeah.
All year, Will. Start to finish. Big.
Yeah.
Yeah. Outstanding. The whole league. Yeah.
Okay. A few other things to touch on before we finish up, because I actually thought you'd end up arguing about the All-Stars a lot more than that. Because this is one that you really will argue about. So I take you back to Richie Hogan after the meeting between these teams in the championship this year. And, Cork... It was after the league final, I think, when he made this comment. And the question was, how many tip players would actually get into the Cork team? So right now, 2 and a bit months on, what Tipperary players would start for Cork now? And this is perfect material for any Tipperary supporter who's going to go, these three bollocks are going to say nobody can get in our team.
That's the one thing. Yeah, right. I have two lads who'd... Let me think now. Yeah, I have two lads.
Thank you, Richie Hogan, by the way, for this.
Can I have it any different order? Just different, no order at all, not at the back?
Yeah, go for it.
Sure, Jake Morris goes in at wing forward, isn't he?
Jake Morris in at wing forward, yeah.
Yeah.
Who's missing out in the Cork half forward line for Jake Morris then?
I have to pick
I have to push you on this.
Yeah. No pushing. We're there. We're with you.
Right.
Number 10 position, yeah.
Yeah. It'll be Healy or Dalton. If Harnedy comes back, Harnedy's in the team for me.
Over Morris?
No. So if Harnedy comes back on either wing, if he's available...
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
He's in either wing. Do you know what I mean?
So Healy or Dalton drops out of the team if Harnedy's fit.
Personally speaking,
not to get off the beaten track in this, but how much of a blow scale is it if Harnedy's not available? Because touch and go is what we were told last Tuesday by Pat Ryan.
Yeah, big game player will.
Yeah.
You know, for you to win big games, you need big players to play well. You know, and he's a guy that's been ever consistent for Cork over the years. It's a rarity to see him have a bad game. 4
All-Stars, which 4 All-Stars is remarkable for a guy who doesn't have an All-Ireland medal yet.
Yeah, and some man to win primary possession. So, yeah.
Okay, so Jake Morris dislodges one of them, but wouldn't dislodge. You'd have Owen Connolly in the defence. Okay.
Yeah.
Who does Owen Connolly get in ahead of?
Murph's going to answer that question.
Right, fair enough, because he was about to do it too.
I'm just going to throw him in. I'm going to say it instead of Owen Downey at full back. I'm going like for like positions here.
Okay.
And the reason I'm saying it, like, part of me then, again, I actually had Robert Doyle as an honourable mention just because Niall O'Leary was injured for a few games. Jerry Miller came in and blah, 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 and all that sort of stuff. And the next lad I would have would be Robert Doyle. But I'm giving it to Niall O'Leary here because I really think he's an outstanding defender. And I've seen so much of him that I just think, yeah. But they're just like, we're talking about Owen Connolly being in Hurler of the Year form here, like, you know. So I just pop him in there at full back. I kind of have to find a place for him. That's no slight on Owen Downey. He's outstanding, but that's just that's the place for me, you know.
Does this remain, Skehill, as a slight on Tipperary to an extent, or are actually quite a few of the positions, to use Pat Ryan's phrase here, touch and go, where there's actually not a whole lot between some of the players?
You see, these ones are tougher, Will, because when you're assessing these, you're speaking solely of the individual. So the team doesn't come into it per se. Like Cork's team is excellent. You know what I mean? Riddler was savage individuals, but I'm just looking at an individual who like for like versus that he's opposite number, if you want to call that. Can he beat him out? And Owen Connolly, I would have cheated again, to be honest, Will. I would have put in Owen Connolly as a kind of a cornerback type person.
Oh, good.
Yeah, but then there's another man as well. Like it's amazing the difference in opinion, or even the difference in perspective. So Murph has Kieran Joyce on his All-Star team. I have Brian O'Mara.
Yeah.
And I'm putting O'Mara in as well. Ooh. And it's gas, like, you know.
Instead of Kieran Joyce?
Yeah, like it's just gas. Like how one man can look at a guy and say guaranteed All-Star. I look at the guy and go guaranteed All-Star, and one of us is going to be wrong.
What do you like about O'Mara? Because his coaches in college have been talking about how like he's this beautiful natural hurler, and it was just a matter of time before it was going to happen for him at senior level. I think this year's been his best year at senior. So what do you like about O'Mara that will get him into the Cork team?
I just like, first things first, I like defenders to bloody well defend first. That's the first thing, okay? And I know sometimes in today's game that can get lost because it's all about when you have the ball in possession. But ultimately, he's extremely strong on a puck out and he's deadly at defending. He is some defender. You watch him one-to-one now. Right? And this can be in open pitch, let's say grass, race to race. This could be in tight quarters in terms of strength. This could be a 1v1 on a high ball, or a ruck ball. He's class. He's a behemoth. He's got power, pace, two-sided, has a very, very tight touch, rarely loses possession. I just love him. I think he can go across any side of the half-back line at all. We've seen him at 6 for Tipperary in the past. I think that the fact that Owen Connolly has come into this year's team and been so steadfast, it has actually helped the likes of Ronan Maher and Brian O'Mara to solidify their specific positions. Now, I know Murph and I mentioned that the two, Maher and Connolly, can switch between 3 and 6. I don't think it's relevant, but the fact that O'Mara is able to stay in a wing-back position has helped him, I think, thrive, to be honest. So, and that's, again, I have to be very careful saying this because that's no slight on Kieran Joyce. I am talking, a decimal point percentages here in terms of separation, but just O'Mara seems to have, for me, I don't know, just come of age this year. Is that the best way to describe it? Because we've seen him in college, and we've seen him for Tip over the last couple of years, but just this year he just seems to have really solidified and be a nucleus part of that defence. In terms of supporting Ronan Maher, because it felt like in the last couple of years, maybe what for me and personally, that Ronan Maher was kind of, he was head and shoulders above the rest in his defence. Not to be disrespectful, but it just seems like now there's guys who are matching his output. Like Connolly and the likes of O'Mara, definitely for me, is matching the output. And again, this is not putting slight on Morgan or Dial or Breen, but just the way the boys are performing, top class.
Okay, so you've got between you combined potentially 4, definitely 3 to get in at this stage. Probably tossed up in quite a few positions. Like both he argued one for Shelley, one for Collins when it came to goals.
Well, one of the things I throw out there as well is that so there's 3 different ways to look at this. So one, the All-Star team that you'd pick based on current form is completely different to.
Correct.
It's a snapshot of a season versus who you pick.
That's a snapshot of a season. But picking a Tipperary player to slot into the Cork team is a different thing. And a third other thing that's different, because I know lads will look and say, well, you picked Andrew Ormond in your All-Star team, but you're not getting them out of Shane Barrett here. It's like, that's different. Another question you would pose that's completely different is if you were picking a team tomorrow, let's say if you had it for next season, like straight away, automatically, let's say Cian Lynch, you have Cian Lynch here. Cian Lynch is not getting an all-star. Cian Lynch is, but that's the third different way. So if lads are looking at this going, how can you have Andrew Ormond down for an all-star but not have him in here? You have to look at it completely different. And also you have to look at it, well, how does the team function as a whole, depending on how you parachute in a player or take him out, So that's certainly the way I'd be looking at it.
We'll see if the guys can feature in the Premier View pod compilation video for the second time of this season with their predictions in a few moments' time. Before that, though, I want to ask you about Skehill, a 3-year term for Brian Lohan. None of us were doubting the fact that Lohan, whether he was going to be there for next year, and obviously if he had desired to stay on, he was going to stay as manager. But 3 years would indicate to me that Brian Lohan is there for what will be a rebuild for this Clare team when those older stagers go, whether that be next year, whether it be the year after. Brian Lohan is still going to be the manager for the next rebuild of this Clare team.
Yeah, and before I answer, did it state that his backroom team was to be decided?
Ooh, I can double check that.
I don't think it was the team, the whole backroom team that was come back for 3 years. I think it was Brian Lohan specifically.
I think it was very specific around Brian Lohan. See, the one that stood out for me was Peter Keane was saying he had to go away and have a think. So that stood out when it came to that meeting. But it's definitely Lohan till 28 anyway.
Yeah, I don't it's very hard to see if Brian Lohan did step down, is there a ready-made replacement in Clare at the moment to kind of fill those shoes? I would say no. I see they're very, very big shoes to fill. I think in terms of a county embodying their demeanour of a manager, it's Clare is number one in the way Lohan was on. To the way he's kind of this bull-like person on the sidelines. At times you think Clare would kind of nearly embody that kind of emotion, that kind of state. And they do have players. I know a lot of people can point towards, and rightfully so, of course, Tipperary of late in terms of their minor and under 20 success, but Clare have been knocking all the time. They've been knocking on the door as well in terms of Munster finals. They've been competing consistently, so they have players who are competitive at a top level and are ready to step in. And like you said, Will, there is some element of a rebuild. At least it feels like a rebuild.
Yeah.
When you see players who are not readily available throughout the year through injury, you know what I mean, for the whole year, it just signifies there needs to be some extra blood brought in. And if you're going into it, if you're a young player like, wouldn't you want to play for Brian Lohan?
Oh, of course.
You would of course, and create more competition and go for it. So, look, time will tell, but as of right now, it looks like the right decision and probably the only decision.
Do you know what, Murph? I knew his detail would be right on this. Details of the backroom team will be ratified at either the August or September meeting, which would indicate he could go back in with the same backroom team and put them up for reappointment, or I think more likely, because usually at this stage, if you've got an agreement with Brian that he's going to stay for 3 more years, Brian Lohan is saying, if my management team is in, they would have all been ratified as a package, I think, at the meeting before the break. So probably we're waiting a month, maybe 2 months to find out who's going to be part of the backroom team. Maybe they'll make some subtle changes ahead of next year. And as Shane O'Donnell said in Off the Ball just a few weeks ago, there's decisions to be made about some of those players, whether they're going to still be around for 2026. But the hunger certainly seems to be there within Clare for them to stay around for a little bit longer as part of this group. So that is the Brian Lohan news, which kind of, again, reappointments kind of spring out of nowhere at this time, but it's all about ratifications and so on. And he's back in. This is where we get to the wonderful part, which is where you guys pick who's going to win this weekend and why. So Paul Murphy, the floor is yours. Who is winning the All-Ireland hurling final this Sunday afternoon?
I'm going to have to give it to Cork. At the moment, yeah. Just again, we sat here this time last year, and for some reason, my gut was saying to me, Clare, in the same situation. We probably outlined those points previously that I just felt for some reason Clare do what's necessary in finals, etc. Granted, Munster finals maybe haven't worked out to them, but there's something about them last year. When I look at Kilkenny and Tipperary, and neither of them were perfect in their semi-finals. So either team that were going to face Cork, I was thinking, Cork have been that little bit more impressive. And again, the weight of Munster champions automatically have a certain tag with them. And there's been nothing since to say that Cork have receded in their performances or aren't any better. Particularly after the fact that Cork lost the final as well last year. That has to play into your psyche coming into this final, because there's a lot of hunger in that dressing room for All-Irelands. There's more All-Irelands in the opposing dressing room than there is in the Cork dressing room, There's certainly a lot of pressure going with the Cork lads at the moment as well, in terms of a lot of the hype is around them. And as we said at the start of the show, that suits Tipperary. Tipperary are fully capable of going to win this final, absolutely. And I'll hold my hands up on Sunday or Monday when we're sitting here. But at the moment, when I look at the key areas, when I look at who has that bit more firepower, I just look at Cork and I say, this is a fantastic Cork team, and maybe the time is now for them. So for me, for Sunday, I'm going to go with Cork.
Yeah, before I get Scale's predictions, so all Munster finals, Cork supporters won't have to be reminded of recent ones. 21, lost to Limerick, 2 defeats against Clare, 13 after the replay in 2024. And Tipperary also lost to Clare in 97 in an all-Munster final as well. So one of them is going to break that run when we go to this all-Munster final at the weekend. Who is it going to be that is going to do that, Mr. James Scale? To give you your legal name.
Yeah, thank you. It's rarely I'm called it. I'm Cork as well, Will.
Okay.
I am Cork.
I thought you were going to go Tipperary for a second. I was like,
No, for a second. Come here. Do you know something I can't get on my head? I just can't get on my head. And you might say, why? Is when your man McCarthy got sent off around Páirc Uí Chaoimh. Mm-hmm. And I did say to you, I give Páirc Uí Chaoimh a 5-point head start to the home team. Always. I just can't get it on my head. I can't get that grit out of my head. How and even the way Cahill goes on, and like body language and how he is in the sideline, and the way even the tip guys act after a big score or a free or whatever. I'm like, I just can't get it on my head. Like last year, I was searching. Honestly, Will, I was searching. Cork were to be clear. Like last year,
I know you were. Yeah.
This year, I think if Cork plays to their heights, of course they can beat anybody. By flipping cricket score. Of course they can. But just will they be let? Is the question. And when I say Cork, I'm splitting freaking hairs here. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. You can ring me tomorrow. Will I say Tip? You can ring me Wednesday. I can say Cork.
I recorded a preview with Beat for the show on Saturday earlier today, and I agonised somewhat about it for the exact same reason that I thought Tipperary, when a man short, showed a bit of something in that game at Páirc Uí Chaoimh. The ship did not go down easy. And similarly, when they went a man down against Kilkenny, they showed that they can respond to adversity in the semi-final. And Hurl maybe even a few percent better when they were a man short. There's something about this Tipperary team which gives them a fighting chance going into this final. I still edge it towards Cork because I think Cork's level is that little bit above if both these teams go in and play their best. And for that reason, I would be just Going against logic, if I was to say I think Tipperary are going to win, and that's saying that as someone who thought that Tipperary were going to beat Kilkenny in the semi-final, I would not be one bit surprised if Tip won, but it's a clean sweep across this panel.
Well, can I ask you a question, you guys,
Sure.
right? Because we're saying clean sweep in Cork, and maybe I'll throw this question towards you, Murph. Not a loaded question, but take Patrick Horgan now. Patrick Horgan has lost 3 Ireland finals. Okay? The last experience the Tipperary boys have had, i.e. Noel McGrath and the boys we've mentioned, have won the Ireland final. And you can count the last 4 or 5 years as being kind of a tough spell for them. But in terms of finals, right? And finals are different for me. They just are. It doesn't matter what's happened over the last 5 years. But finals are there to be won. Fact. And their history counts for nothing in terms of your form over the last couple of years, but it counts for something in tradition. Like that's why I'm looking at Tip going, I just can't say with 100 degrees or percent certainty it's going to be Cork. Just something, them lads could bring something different on Sunday, Tipperary lads. Would you put any value on that? You know what I mean?
No, I absolutely would. I would. If for me, one of the defining factors,
the Cork team have lost. This Cork team have lost 2 Ireland. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Nice,
it's not the same Cork team though. Like
I know
for
it's
me,
not. It's just the same people.
One of the big defining factors for me in terms of when I've seen Cork players interviewed this year, I've listened to how they've spoken. I've listened to Pat Ryan how he's spoken, and they have a really mature grasp of where they are and how they're absorbing this whole crazy kind of hype train that's going on. For me, the fact that they lost the All-Ireland final last year, like we're not looking back at the one in 21, was it? 21 was the one where they took the awful beating. Yeah, the rout. They're not looking back as far as that. They're looking back only as far as last year. Last year, when they were driving down the Joneses Road after that, the one thing they would have done is said, geez, if we could play that match one more time, and they can't, the next best thing is playing it this year. I just feel from what I've seen in interviews with those Cork lads that they have bottled that in the best way they possibly can, in that they're going, look, it's nothing to do with last year, but certainly, in terms of retribution for last year, in terms of justifying yourself, in terms of, maybe wiping the slate clean, here's 70 minutes of hurling, go out. And when I've seen them play this year, granted, Limerick wiped them in the round robin, but they came back and they won the Munster final. They've answered a lot of questions for me, and granted, it hasn't been flawless, but they've been the team that's been closest to extremely good this year than any other team. Like they've been the one team. So when I look at them, I'm like, it's very hard to put one quality on it. Yes, excellent players and all that stuff, but I'm just looking at them going, they have a bit more feel of champions about them this year than they did this time last year. Like last year, for some reason, I went with Clare because I just went, these Clare lads, for some reason, I just think that they can go and do it. I have that kind of feeling about me again with this Cork team. I just feel that they're in a groove. They're in a fucking groove at the moment, But again, it does go back to it. This is not a case that this is a landslide for it's not. It's absolutely not. But if my house was on it tomorrow and I had to bet one way, that's what it comes back to. I just have to put it on Cork, like.
Yeah, so we're Cork across the board, are we?
We are Cork, yeah. And I thought for a minute we were going to have to retire TJ Reid there for a second. So TJ put up like a very lengthy statement on Instagram just a few minutes ago. And it's got a picture of himself and his daughter, which is the one that kind of everyone focused on after the final. And you're just thinking, is this TJ's announcement? And then you read through and you kind of think, he's saying it's been a very, very difficult week. And it ends up going, everything will pass. And it seems on the face of it that maybe he comes back for next year. He's left it wide open. Whew. I did think for a second, an hour and 40 into a pod that next thing TJ Reid is gone. What a good day we had. There's just a couple of things I want to touch on Liam Cal, and then we'll leave this pod for this week then. And next week, Monday, am I right in saying we're agreeing right now we're going to do the review pod?
I think so. Yeah.
I think we might do it live on the Monday, if it works.
Okay.
Let people come in, ask questions, talk about the year, and we'll do a members pod and answer everyone's questions at the 10 next week, and then we will draw a line under the season and we will disappear off and we'll come back in a few months' time. Liam Cal will feel justified. I was listening to a few of his interviews, and clearly this has stuck in his craw for quite some time, is that people had this narrative scale during the year that, the last 2 years, Tipperary have looked well conditioned early on in the year and the steam has run out, and Liam Cal has a reputation of, even towards the tail end of Waterford, that he likes to get something out of the team early in the year. Maybe he's dogging them, maybe they overtrain, and maybe that gives you a false perspective in what's called the league and maybe early in Munster. The reality is that team were still well conditioned and going well in that semi-final the last day against Kilkenny. Can we draw a line under that now at this stage that that's just something about Liam Cahill teams?
It's done, yeah. It's done. Evidence is there. Well, they're in the final. And I think the conditioning perspective, what's in the tank now will come will come out. Like, in terms of, you rarely see it in finals where teams don't show up with buckets of energy. Because sometimes it can happen in group games in the provincial championships. Rarely it happens in provincial finals. Might happen in a quarterfinal or semi-final, but in finals, very, very, very rarely. We never see it. We always see a high octane fixture, and that kind of pace, fitness that you've done over the course of the year is going to come out. And if a team was flogged, truthfully speaking, they wouldn't make it to the stage. They just wouldn't. No. The quality of opposition is too good to get this far. They just wouldn't. Like, they wouldn't have come through Kilkenny if that team was, as you said, or as it was perceived to be flogged, because just Kilkenny are too gritty. So I think that kind of narrative, I think, can be put aside for the moment. And I say the moment now because it's the first year, is always to get a kick. Second year, third year, that's when it comes out. So what he's done now of late, I don't see how that'll ever come back to him. I just think that was just a coincidence back in the day. If you want to put it that way.
I think it was down to performances the last 2 seasons. They didn't qualify because they didn't win the games, because they didn't perform well enough to win the games.
But were they good enough? That's the question. I don't want to be saying this now about them.
I think they're a better team now, and I think even towards like tail end of last year, we thought maybe they're a little bit ahead of the plan, and now they've had an injection of more good players coming in, and the lads I think this year, Murph, have improved a little bit as well. So early in the year, I think it was perfectly understandable for us to have question marks about Tipperary, but Tipperary brought their level on. I think they're ahead of where I thought they would be start of the year.
Yeah, they did, absolutely. It was very fair. Like, you're looking for any sort of an indication to read into where this team is possibly going to go. And I think it was very fair, maybe, let's go back 2 years ago, to say, okay, we're looking at Garrod O'Connor and these lads and Jake Morris, and we're saying, well, where are they going to find lads when Shamie Callanans and Bonner Mars and these are stepping away? It was quite hard to see it then. But I suppose it's the job of Liam Cahill to find them, and he did. And something he has managed quite well is bringing in those younger players, blooding them at a very quick rate, like, in fairness, because there's lads performing now. When we talk of blooding, it's blooding with the aim of getting these lads performing. There's lads performing now that weren't on our radar 2 years ago, and they're performing really well. That with the mix of bringing back in the likes of Willie Connors and these lads who we were speaking out there in contention for All-Stars will be certainly nominated, I'd imagine. That man wasn't on the panel a few years ago, came in, dropped out, and Liam Cahill found a purpose for him bringing back in. He's redeployed Michael Breen at corner back, a lad with huge athleticism, and did, as we said at the start of the show, applied his trade midfield, half forward, half back, out and out corner back now at the moment. Like, he's really worked his hand really incredibly well. Jake Morris, I would say predominantly, I'm open to correction, a lot of the time I would have Jake Morris in my head over the last year's 13 or 15. Like, that was kind of where he's out now at wing forward, getting them on a heap of ball. And so, like, there's a lot to be admired about what Liam Cahill did. I think we spoke really, really positively about Liam in terms of I really liked him when he was at Waterford. He got a huge amount out of it. But I think it's also fair to say that when people were looking for, well, what was it? Why did they suddenly drop off? At the time, the only whispers were that, maybe they were training too hard. When you're not involved in these things, you kind of look for any sort of a bit of proof or any sort of evidence as to why a team might fall away, because some of those teams went from hurling really outstanding in terms of talk that they could go and win in All-Ireland to just falling away very quickly. So there was quite a lot of merit in it, but I agree with what Skehill said there. Like, it's been answered now, and that's fine. It's been answered for the rest of us in that his teams have now made it to an All-Ireland final. And like, look, he's a proven manager. He's outstanding, and he definitely gets the most out of his team. So, he's for a lad who I suppose was taking quite a bit of flack about 2 years ago from maybe Tipperary fans. It's a testament to him now that he has his team in the All-Ireland final, and very deservedly is getting the credit he deserves.
Okay. For the members, and I see that Kevin McKenna has been kind of trying to going, surely you get members pot with the week that's in it. The idea I have for the members pot, because again, I think we covered a lot of the topics we were going to do in the members pot. I think we were going to do the All-Star team purely as that, and Skehill couldn't wait, and he went, I'm doing this now.
Sorry,
so it's here, right? That's fine. It's fine. Instead of me paywalling that, which I just could do, I could go back and edit and do it. I think we leave it as part of a bumper chat ahead of this. I think what we do is I'm going to leave it open to members and even to non-members, because they can use it as one of their free listens. You can do 3 a month if you've got the Goal Out app. Any questions that you like for the two lads between now and next Monday, and I'll answer it as a members pod, and they'll answer it even more honestly when they're not out in the open. Is that fair?
Sure.
I'll get back to Kevin.
No problem.
Boys don't give a shite, so whatever you want to ask. Right, that's a lot. I will remind people, if you want to give us a help, it's amazing. Last week's pod just exploded on YouTube and on Spotify. I think it was officially our most listened to podcast that we've done last week. I need to verify that. It went ahead of even the live road show, the first one that we did, which was like gangbusters numbers. Last week was absolutely crazy. So yeah, I think everyone's been spreading it. Some of you have been breaking the first rule of Fight Club and talking about the Hurling Pod to other people by the looks of it. Whatever about people sharing it online and sending comments and so on. I also, because there was a bit of back and forth on this, and I realised that the YouTube spiders might well be listening to me at the moment. Some people were complaining last week, going, "You guys have thrown in way more ads into it. And what are you doing? Put all these ads onto YouTube." I don't determine where the ads go on YouTube, so YouTube determines where the ads go. I think at the back end, and I've never done it, this is more for content creator types, you can place where the ads would go. But YouTube have put the ads in, and because we're giving you like 90 minutes a week, YouTube are going, I think we might just put a few ads in here along the way. And people were complaining it was like it's hurling chat getting in the way of the ads and so on. If you want to watch it ad free, I'm not discouraging you from going to YouTube, you can watch it on Spotify without a membership. Just go to the Off the Ball Spotify and you can watch the video there. And the hijinkery, as I've mentioned it a few times this season, if you're out and about, it's ideal. You're on the train or the bus or on the way to work or whatever else, you're watching the video. Next thing, you have to go through town, lock your phone, and the audio just play. I'm not sure how it works, but it just does. The video will disappear and the audio will just continue. And if you want to do that, and I know some people say they much for watching us and seeing the lads' reactions and whatever else, that's the way to do it. I love YouTube. Maybe you've got a YouTube Premium and you don't have ads anyway, but just be prepared, there will be some ads on the YouTube. And there's nothing I can do about that. All Ireland final week. Can't wait for it. Who are you on the TV with this week, Murph?
In terms of
Shane O'Donnell anyway. You mentioned.
Shane O'Donnell, I don't know what order it's happening in. Shane O'Donnell, Seamus Flanagan, Neil McManus, and then there's a blast of, well, quite a few celebrities from what I know. Oof. But they haven't been announced or anything yet. So
who's going in? Because our good buddies on Kingfisher recorded with Off the Ball today. So I'm not sure what day it's actually going out. So during the week that's going to happen. Those boys are going to make a few quid this week, I have a feeling, when it comes to royalties. So they're on. I don't know if Kingfisher are picked up by the BBC. Will this be like last year, where like some of the actors that are on BBC shows ended up on it? And Paul Mescal ended up involved last year in football.
That was the year before, actually, because the hurling was
Darragh O'Brien, wasn't it?
Yeah, Darragh O'Brien, James Nesbitt, Siobhan, is it McSweeney from Derry Girls?
Yeah.
David O'Doherty that were on it last year. So this year, they have no one confirmed yet. I guess they have no one confirmed. But it's I'll put it this way:
he knows who they are, but he
knows exactly who they are. It's like
I do. I've been quietly told that this is who it looks like. I can't. Absolutely.
Give us initials.
I'll give you initials. Fuck off.
Like, are we talking genuine? Are we talking genuine? Because we're going to ask you to maybe stop recording in a second. Are we talking like big names here?
Should be. I don't know. Look, I'll put it this way. I was very tentatively told that this is who it looks like, but I appreciate that these people. I'll tell you when it comes closer to time, but that their schedules may change. If they are that important, their schedules may change. So that's why I'd be very hesitant until you're. Sure, he's playing the Open, you clown.
Yeah, his may change, but
I tell you, if he starts like he did in Royal Port Rush 6 years ago, he'll be on with off, and he'll be fine. Yeah.
No, it's definitely. I can tell you, it's not. It's not Shane Lowry or Shane.
Roy Keane.
No, Roy Keane was 2 boxes down from last year, and he. I wouldn't say he snubbed Darragh O'Brien, but Darragh O'Brien was in the bathroom, and here was Roy Keane. And
there's no way Keane does it with Cork in the final. And anyway, I don't think you could do it for the BBC. Like, say if the BBC approached Roy Keane and went, "We want you in our box, and we're going to chat to you and whatever." No. Cork in the final, he's not going to want to be disrupted.
I don't know who the box is, two boxes down from us, but he joins someone in there and he watches the match. It was the same as last year, like, where he goes to watch Cork. So no, he won't. No.
Yeah, if it's 2 teams he wasn't invested in, then possibly you could convince him. I know he did a Super Bowl drop in, him and Martin O'Neill a few years ago, but I'm sure that probably funded their trip to the Super Bowl as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Right, okay, we're going to wrap up. The one thing I was wondering, Skehill, did you get your NFL ticket in the end?
I did.
Excellent.
But did you? Can't say how I got it.
I was interested, but I got it. I did.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Fine.
That mental U-turn that you did there.
We'll go tailgating on the 28th. We'll get on Murphy and a few others to come along and we'll have a chat when we're tailgating.
Yeah, can we just stop talking shit about this stuff? They should do it. You know what I mean?
No, we should do it, yeah.
Let's just do it.
Yeah. Murph has no interest in coming, do you?
Not really.
No. It's your namesake, Owen Murphy.
Murph is in strikingly honest form today.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm just not going to waste your time. I'll go tailgating and I'll head off then. I'll leave you going to the game. I enjoy a bit of American football and stuff, but yeah, no. Look, I'd be a waste of a ticket. I'll put it that way. It's like me. Okay. It's like if some NFL fan was in Croke Park on Sunday. I'm like, do you know what? You were a waste of a ticket for some Tipperary or Cork fan. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't even want to see the content creators at the weekend when everyone's scrambling for a ticket and someone's in the premium tickets going, hey, having a great time.
Yeah.
So, just don't happen. All right, lads, we'll chat again on Monday evening so everyone can get their questions together. I'll stick it up as well. Whatever you want to ask the two lads, we'll do a behind the paywall members pod. Ask the lads anything is my promise. Paul Murphy, see you on Monday. Have a good time with the telly.
Will do.
And James Skehill, we'll watch him on telly at the weekend as we watch this final. Have a good one.
Ciao. See you, folks.
All right. See you next week, everyone.